I'm not actually convinced that this film is real, but I'm going to do my best to explain it to you. We open on a space battle with a predator ship being blasted by a pursuing predator ship right before it tears open a teleportation hole in space and travels directly to Earth. This actually happens. The ship makes it through to Earth and before crash landing jettisons out an escape pod of some kind. Keep in mind that will be relevant for the last scene of the film. We then meet Man Dude, who is so badass you just know that he's super cool and awesome.
Show me again, I want to break your neck.
We are smashed into a covert American mission in Mexico where it has come down to a team of 3 guys seeing whether or not hostages are executed or not. Remember they did that in the original? We're doing it again. Fuck you. The Predator ship then crash lands right next to Dude Bloke's team, and somehow the Predator's gear all falls off and lands outside of the ship, while the ship itself is lost and becomes the MacGuffin of the movie. Don't think about it, it gets so much worse. So Dude Bro finds and picks up the Predator gauntlet and he just decides to put it on, and it actually works because movie? I don't know. Both of his team members are then killed, and right at the moment that the Predator is heading towards Bro Boy, the gauntlet that he had attached just automatically defeats the Predator by throwing some kind of projectile at him by accident, and now it's down. In the first 2 minutes of the film, the Predator has been defeated. Awesome. We then see government officials show up. They collect everything in the area while our protagonist escapes. The bad guy is introduced, and the camera focuses on him taking some Nicorette. Like, it hangs there for a while to let us know he has a nicotine problem, and it will likely be relevant at no, this never comes up again. Bear in mind, there were reshoots for this film, as there always seem to be for films these days. Reportedly, the biggest reason for it is that Shane Black realized the third act was shot in daylight, and that isn't scary, so they did it again, but at night. Classic filmmaking right there. But the fact that there were reshoots should explain why there are several moments in this film that make no fucking sense at all. So, out of the Predator gear that he stole, Bloke Boy decides to mail the gauntlet and the mask to his P.O. box. This is in order to have proof of the story when he returns home instead of being a patsy. On top of that, he swallows the little ball from the Predator's gear. Oh, you don't know what I mean by the little ball? Well, the little ball, when activated, turns you completely invisible. You guys remember how Predators always activate it with the gauntlet, and how you would remove the invisibility as an option for the Predator if you damaged the gauntlet? Well, now it's just Science Ball, and you might wonder why they've made this change, but it's a Shane Black film, so you can bet it was for a joke. I guess we'll see. We then cut to Awesome Guy's son, who is watching the chess games at his school, but some bully tropes decide to pull the fire alarm to annoy everyone. And I shit you not, the teacher ferries everyone out of the class and ignores the one child Rain Manning on the floor thanks to his Asperger's. And you can actually see the teacher in the scene. He just fucking forgets about the special needs child in front of him during a fire, as if that would fucking happen. But it allows our bully tropes to walk by the class and realize they have a chance to be evil. Only they just decide to call the defenseless child Asperger, and then they say that they are hungry for some Aspergers. This is actual dialogue in the film.
Now here I'm in my 50s now, and I felt like a midlife crisis coming on.
I guess I will be calling him Asperger throughout this rant then. Thank you, Shane. So the bully tropes get bored and leave. No idea why they decided to come in all together if the only goal was to ask for some Aspergers, but they do knock over all the chess pieces in the room in order to annoy the chess club, I guess. And then we are shown that Asperger can remember where every single chess piece was on every single board, and so he puts them all back. This is a setup for his superpowers. Oh, you think I'm joking? No, this is a setup for his superpowers. Asperger then goes home and a delivery man provides him the package his dad sent to the P.O. box. Apparently his dad is overdue in payments, and so that means the post office delivered to him directly. How inconvenient. And I mean, is that actually a fucking thing? Oh well, the film found a way to give the burger of ass a whole bunch of space technology. Why not? After that, we cut to some government-style dudes walk up to Woman Girl. She does the sciences. The guy then says, Dr. Brackett, I understand you enjoy stargazing. And that's it. She just goes with them. The scene ends. Apparently that's all we needed. Characters are not people, they are props. We gotta put them in the place they need to be, because I don't fucking know. We then see her in a car being driven to the mysterious destination, and they then tell her that these aliens have visited many times in 87 and 97, and increasing visits lately. So it is safe to assume that Predator 1 and 2 are canon. I wish that was a good thing. We then cut to Asperger being told to wear a Halloween mask by his mum, and he says he doesn't want to because people will still be able to tell he's under there. I wonder what mask he can use to hopefully prevent that from happening. Snap back to Buddy Bro, and he's being interrogated for information on what happened in Mexico. He essentially realizes that they are setting him up for the murder of his own team, and he actually plays along, probably because he plans to break out. Snap back to the house of the Asperger, and we see that the burger himself is beginning to open up all of the Predator gear. Snap back again to Bloke Guy, who is getting placed on a prisoner transport. I'm not kidding you, the editing in this film gets to the point where your neck starts to break if you want to keep up with it. The second he sits down, we get this other guy to explain everything to us. He says his name is Gaylord and he prefers a nickname he gave himself, but we're gonna stick with Gaylord. He is there because he shot a CO in the head. After explaining that, he just decides, fuck it, I'll explain all the characters in this bus and their gimmicks because show don't tell is no longer a thing. We have Key, who fired on his own men by accident and now tells jokes to deal with it. Theon, the sneaky one, who does card tricks and blew up a mountain. No, I'm not kidding. Then we get Bible Dude. Gaylord just outwardly says he loves his Bible. That's his gimmick. I hope we're clear on this hilarious concept. And finally, we have the Punisher, who has Tourette's syndrome, and Shane Black, being the highbrow comedian that he is, decided to take this character to a whole new level than we've seen previously by having him say, "Eat your pussy, dick, fuck me with an aardvark," and "fuck cocks." He says these randomly in conversations along with clicking his fucking tongue all the time. Do you guys remember what writing characters was like? We are at the point where fucking superhero movies are the gold standard for character writing. What the fuck happened in 2018 for movies, man? It's like the release of The Last Jedi has let everyone know that we can be as retarded as we want to as long as money is made.
And I felt like a midlife crisis coming on.
So we snap back again to our other protagonist, and she's being ushered into the science place where they do science, and it turns out they have collected the Predator gear from the other movies. We even see the spear that was made in AVP, which makes those canon too. Though I don't know why we have these pieces of tech on display instead of in labs being researched on, since they are incredible pieces of futuristic technology, but fuck it, we're moving on. We then find out they've captured the first Predator from the opening and have it sedated in a science place for science. She ends up taking a close look at it and then says, "You are one beautiful motherfucker." Remember that line? We're doing it again. Because fuck you. The reality is they have no clue what to do with the Predator, though they have discovered something. Apparently it has human DNA. And before you can question the absolute dumbassery of that, the science people begin saying, like, this happens a lot in real life. You have goats that do it and sheep that share species DNA. As if that makes this make any fucking sense at all. It reminds me of the poisonous rat speech to justify soldier dinosaurs in Jurassic World 2. Either way, girl lady then interrupts him and says in a most Shane Black written way, "Guys, I get it. You want to know if someone fucked an alien." And there is this long pause for laughter. My cinema just fucking winced. Lady person then asks to speak with Bromail, and so they call off having him outright killed to bring him back to the science place. Snap back to the bus, and there is a joke about homeless people being circumcised and 5 men fucking the Punisher's mum. Yeah, I just need someone to remind me periodically that I'm watching a Predator film right now because the genre and tone are actually fucked. Snap back to Ass of House Burger, and he's casually figured out how to use the alien technology entirely. He understands the fucking language and uses the holographic alien keyboard, letting him control the new Predator ship that has just arrived. It houses the enemy from the beginning that was Star Warsing with our main Predator. The kid then manages to get the government to actually pick up on the entry of the new Predator by deactivating its cloaking field with his knowledge of the controller he is using, forcing all of these factions to start clashing. Yeah, no, this actually happens. This is the plot. Please stay with me, people. Snap back to the lab, and woman lady is complaining that they won't let her see a mysterious liquid. That liquid that she is talking about does more damage to the Predator franchise than anything across any of these films, and we are going to get to it. A random science person then warns that this new Predator ship is coming to the lab. They know this because the government found the ship and are tracking it, and that's where it's heading. And that was possible because the kid deactivated the Predator's cloak because the post office sent him his dad's P.O. box stuff because of late payments. Are you still fucking following this, guys? Snap back to the Predator ship, and the new Predator is hilariously trying to restart the cloaking shield, and it keeps cutting between him and the kid, who keep putting it up and down. I just have to ask, Why are you... Okay, why is the kid so adamant about that particular function on this alien technology? What is his investment in this entire fucking thing? What is Asperger doing in this scene, and why? And why does this piece of technology override anything on this other Predator's completely unrelated ship? And why does it do any of this? Why? Then we cut back to Science Place, and there is a proximity warning for the new Predator, I guess. But then, for no reason, at that very moment, the first Predator that was sound asleep and locked down with restraints wakes up and escapes. There is no breaking of bonds or an accident that lets it go free. It just gets up and kills everyone, somehow managing to not get shot by the several guards with rifles too. It's like the dinosaur escape in Jurassic World 1, only this time they didn't have some fat idiot that released him. They just threw their hands up and wrote, it wakes up and escapes. I don't fucking know. Apparently the government were too retarded to keep this thing locked down in literally any way, shape or form, despite knowing about its entire history. Like, one guy walks right up to the Predator with a rifle to try and shoot it, only to be slapped across the room. Because in movies, you can't shoot someone with a rifle unless you are right next to them. I think this film was intended for traditional reviewers, and they will be throwing out logic as much as possible, since traditional reviewers are the only people who appreciate a lack of logic. Genuinely though, I think we're dealing with a massive editing mistake like The Last Jedi, where there were reshoots and they've just cut the scene where the Predator actually manages to escape his bonds, but you know, what the fuck ever, I guess. Female gal then picks up the vial of secret juice and a tranquilizer gun and is then spared by the Predator after having dropped the weapon. At least they fucking got that right. The Predator then looks into his new mask he got from the display and sees through it to his old mask in the Asperger house, which in turn sees a random note on the wall that shows an address that the Predator can then use to get back to the other gear it has lost. Let me say that again. The Predator puts on a new mask that he got from the display case, and through it he sees through his old mask in the Asperger house, which in turn sees a random note on the wall that shows an address that the Predator can then use to get its gear back. Somebody actually fucking wrote that. We then cut back to the bus where they say there has been a breach, only to cut to the outside of the Science Place where the Predator is murdering every soldier trying to stop it. I thought there was some kind of secret underground dam, but now it's like a facility on ground level or something. I honestly have no idea. Turn your brain off. Brains are actually offensive to movies these days. We then snap back to girl person who is told to not let the Predator escape, and she agrees. Science Man says, "Don't let it escape," and she says, "Not my space animal," and then she begins her chase. This line is so poorly written, I don't even know what they were trying to say with it. Is it that she's desperate to catch it to be able to study it? It just tore through about 20 armed and trained personnel, and she has a fucking trank gun. She's in civilian clothing. We just saw that sedatives don't do shit. What is your plan, woman? Whatever, before we can absorb that, we snap back to Man-Boy, who sees that the Predator has escaped, and so he rallies the men of the bus to rise up and fight the alien that killed his men in the beginning. And somehow that works. He then says, "We gotta move." To which Gaylord responds, "Brother, this is a bus. It moves." Who wrote this dialogue, for Christ's sake? So the men fake a riot, and when the soldiers come out to break them up, they are all knocked out and ditched, leaving the bus to our new team of heroes. We then cut back to Lady Woman, who is now holding her trank gun, waddling in full pursuit of the fucking Predator. But don't sit with that for too long, because we're back with Dude Guy, who asks Gaylord to help him not only find the alien, but kill it, and he just agrees. Because why fucking not, I suppose? Let's all hunt down a fucking alien despite being wanted fugitives that just broke out of custody. We then start hyperactively snapping back and forth between all 5 factions, including Girl, Guy, Predator, New Predator's ship, and the government scrambling over what is a retarded mess of a scene, culminating in Mrs. Woman sprinting for an eternity only to jump on top of the very vehicle our gaggle of idiots are inside of to try and get a shot at the Predator, who is simply running in front of that very same vehicle. And I'm not fucking kidding here, guys. She ends up shooting herself with the tranquilizer in her own fucking foot. She was sitting in such a way that when aiming at the Predator, her foot was also right in the way too. This woman actually manages, despite having the perfect shot of the thing she wants, to somehow shoot herself in the fucking foot with her own trank gun. and she is knocked out. This actually fucking happens. On top of that, Gaylord then says, "Get to the chopper," as he refers to a selection of motorbikes just out of reach. Remember that bit in the original? They did it again, because fuck you. We then cut back to the Predator ship, and it destroys the government ships following it, so I guess that's done. Only to then snap back to a random government guy, like a single random government soldier man who goes to execute female woman since she's knocked out on the floor. But just before this random dude is able to do that, person fella bonks him right off the screen with a surprise bike attack and saves her. Good God. The Predator, then having escaped those guys, jumps into a government vehicle and kills everyone in the back of it, screaming bloody murder, only for the driver to then say, "Hey, everybody okay back there?" And then the Predator, the fucking Predator, grabs a severed arm from the floor of the truck and makes it pose a thumbs up and puts it through the hatch to tell the driver everything is fine. And the driver fucking buys it. Yeah, no, I'm serious. This actually fucking happens in the film. Then we see the new Predator is set down on Earth and releases his dogs to go and find the tech he is after, only to cut to our heroes who are now all in a random hotel, I guess? I feel I should mention that there is this thing some of you might call a joke, where Key asks Punisher what it's like to hold a gun again, and he replies, "Feels like a gun." And again, there is this pause for the audience to laugh, and I just want to die. We then get a bonding scene for Boyman and Gaylord. It's actually embarrassing. It opens with him saying, "It's the end of times, huh?" Only for Gaylord to respond with, "Worst thing about the end times, they never fucking are." And then they both laugh. What the fuck is this dialogue? Gaylord then admits that it was actually himself that he shot, not a different CO, and he has a scar on his head because of it. Bro Man then asks if he should be worried, and Gaylord responds, "Probably." And then the scene ends. Somebody actually wrote this. The next scene then spends a decent amount of time code arguing over whether or not the Punisher said, "Sheesh, you're pushy," or "eat your pussy." This is apparently called comedy. All of the characters just argue over this for ages because he has Tourette's and he says the funny things. Maybe I don't get comedy anymore because I haven't evolved as a fucking critic. Next up, Guy Man says that the government were trying to kill Gal Girl because she stole the special juice. No idea how he knows that, but fuck it. Thanks to that, she says, "Well, I guess I'm in." In what? What the fuck is happening? Are you guys hunting aliens officially now? Immediately after agreeing to join them, she then asks, what's the reason she should join these guys? What? Wouldn't someone ask that before agreeing to stay with these guys? Then the team say that they can keep her alive and that they are the good guys, which is a reason to be with them. And she responds, "That's debatable. I read your file. The men it killed in Mexico, they were yours? The government are gonna need a patsy." To which he says, "Yeah, you're looking at him." And then she says, "Yeah, I figured." What? You just said that it's debatable as to whether or not he's a good guy, and to follow that up, you say he's being framed by the government, as if that's some kind of evidence against him being a good guy? And this comes after you saying you're gonna join them, only to then ask whether or not you should consider joining them. Who wrote this dialogue? It doesn't make any sense. It's out of order, and people aren't speaking to each other like humans. So, pushing on, we get a few jokes about how Bible Guy believes in the Bible, and the assumption that the Predator is trying to get the gear that Man Bro stole at the beginning, so they gotta get to it first. Meanwhile, and I'm not fucking kidding, Asperger puts on the Predator helmet and it immediately shows him a fucking video of Predators experimenting on Predators to create new Predators. No idea why the mask would do that or why it activates. It's like the Predator equivalent of YouTube, for fuck's sake. But it will help the audience understand what changes are being made to Predator lore, and we're gonna get an insight into that very fucking soon. We then cut to Halloween, and the kid has gone out wearing the Predator mask and the gauntlet because he is a fucking idiot. Unfortunately, the dad got home just out of time and missed him, and there are two pieces of hilarious exposition. Dude Man says that he is outraged that the box came to his house. And the wife just says, "What? He ordered some video games. Big deal." This line is meant to tell us that she let him keep the box and the stuff inside it because she's convinced it was a video game. Fucking awful. Then he says, oh no, the whole reason I sent it to a P.O. box was that you guys wouldn't be in danger. As if that somehow makes this P.O. box bullshit make more sense. The film just wanted to have the Asperger kid have all the Predator gear. It's as simple as that. Like, seriously, these pieces of dialogue are so fucking forced. So then we cut to the kid walking around on the street with ominous music to imply something bad is gonna happen. Only to then cut back to the mercs who are cracking jokes in the house while waiting for whatever they're supposed to do next. There's a shit ton of sex jokes, pussy jokes, penis jokes, smelly people jokes, a random intersplice of grief as they explain the death of the soldiers in the beginning of the film to the wife, to more Bible thumping jokes and hilarious misunderstandings. Then they are asked to go on another mission. But they all finally fucking point out that they are fugitives and there's no reason for them to go on a hunt for a fucking space alien. There is comedy, drama, calls to action, melancholy, courage, and subversion between every line of fucking dialogue. I have never seen a more tonally fucking balked film than this, and it's a fucking Predator film. It is not hard to maintain a tone in Predator. Thank you for proving me wrong, Shane. So in response to their lack of investment, Bro Dude threatens to kill all of them if they ever get in the way. He leaves the house, and then his wife is asked to explain his history to try and convince the rest of them to come along. I have no idea why that would change their minds in any way. Like, why in the fuck should they hunt a space alien that sliced through 30 soldiers just minutes ago? But since they all have individual characters, it is good to spend some time with why they are invested in this nonsense. So she says he is a sniper. He has confirmed kills and missions throughout the world with several medals, finishing off with saying that he is a great soldier but a lousy husband. This speech puts Gaylord on board with the mission for some reason, but not the rest of them. How odd. It's almost like telling them that the soldier guy is a soldier isn't enough for them to commit suicide. Strange. Except Gaylord calls them pussies, and so they all decide to just go with him. That is a scene that actually happens. These are not people. But in case you haven't laughed enough in this horror film, the Punisher is shocked by the sight of a gun as he enters the camper van, and he says, "Fuck me in the face with an aardvark." Holds up Spork. We then cut to Asperger, who is being accosted by the bully tropes again in the street. Only this time he quickly runs away from them to a house in order to say trick or treat. There is no answer at first, but then because Shane Black writing means you need to hear ridiculous shit in the most inappropriate places, the guy who owns the house the kid knocked on looks out his window and says, "Here's your treat, you little shit," and throws what looked like a fucking bottle at Asperger. Before we can recover from that, Asperger's mask reacts and automatically fires a fucking plasma caster shot directly into the man, blowing him apart and destroying his house. What the fuck? What in the shitting universe just fucking happened? The bullies just get summoned only to randomly give up the second Asperger runs to the nearest house that unfortunately happens to be occupied by the only twat on the street stupid enough to assault a child for trick-or-treating on fucking Halloween in a densely populated suburb, only to then be unlucky enough to abuse the only fucking child on the street who happens to be wearing fucking space alien technology, resulting in him being blown apart because the plasma caster from the Predator gear is now built into the Predator masks and it automatically reacts to being hit with anything? Who would write this garbage? The film then shows the kid make a scary face at the bullies and they run away in fear, likely as a reaction to seeing the pieces of flesh littering the nearest decimated house. I guess that arc is completed. Thanks for showing that people with Asperger's also happen to have no regrets about murder. I suppose they are supervillains. Anyway, the kid runs off and eventually enters a park in which the Predator dogs start to approach him. These things have the dreadlocks, and they're literally predators but dogs, as if dogs for humans are just humans but dog-shaped, for fuck's sake. So then the entire crew show up and shoot the shit out of the dogs, killing one and okay, there's action-packed music, there's roars from the dogs, and there's gunfire all over the place. Then Gaylord walks up to one of the dogs and hits it in the head with, like, a nail gun or something, and it doesn't die. It just appears to be lobotomized, and so it waddles around. And I'm not fucking kidding here, the crew leave. It just cuts to them on the camper van and the Predator dog is waddling around in the background. This actually happens. Someone created this film. So the Predator shows up and tells everyone to lower their weapons. He fucking symbolizes this with a hand gesture and it makes me cringe even more than when they did it in AVP. But I shit you not, they put their weapons down only for the Punisher to start spurging out with his Tourette's, which sets off the Predator and the crew begin shooting. Like, his Tourette's are for spouting awkward sex jokes or pushing the plot. It is fucking sad for people who actually suffer from this. Anyway, the Predator gets pissed and fires the plasma caster a few times until man person, woman person, and Asperger all make their way into a school. Eventually, the Predator grabs our hero, and before it can deliver a finishing blow, the new Predator grabs it and throws it onto the ground. This is the reveal for the Super Predator. He is bigger, badder, and scarier than ever. Genetically altered super CGI Predator, folks, because fuck you. So yes, here it is. We get a bit of Predator on Predator action. The smaller Predator misses a plasma caster shot, then goes for a swipe, only to be thrown onto the car, and then his head is punched off. He's dead. That was so cool. Do you guys remember when the Predator actually meant you were fucked? Like, when he would show up, it was like, oh good god, we're so dead. Well, now he's like a joke, because we got that super cool, awesome, bigger one to deal with. So then bad guy arrives, and he wants to assess the situation. He looks at the Predator corpse and rolls off a bunch of one-liners. Yeah, this is what happens when you combine Mad Libs and Shane Black. It's just the purest of garbage. So bad guy, from looking at these corpses, concludes that the big one was hunting the little one because the little one betrayed the rest of the Predators. He calls it Interstellar Cops and Robbers. How could you possibly fucking guess that from what we've what the fuck ever. Bad guy then gets confirmation from Asperger's mum that the kid holds the key to the ship, and so they need to find him. We then cut to Bro Dude, and he gives some advice to his Asperger. He tells him that having a burger ass is okay because he also isn't the way that he wants to be. Which, fucking hell, what a message. Just die. Though it isn't over, the Asperger then questions his father's choice to kill people, and the dad feels the need to justify it. And I can't help but remember that we just got done with a scene in which Asperger vaporized a man for calling him a little shit, and seemed to not even fucking care. Who wrote this? Which brings us to a scene. It's a nice little scene. A scene in which Dr. Science Lady has researched the mystery fluid and discovered the truth of it. It is human spinal fluid that was found in the Predator's plexus, meaning that they've been collecting spinal fluid from other species. She then says, one for one, I think I know what they're up to on Predator World these days. And then she explains, you see, Predators aren't taking trophies from their victims when they separate the spine, as we've previously assumed. The Predators are collecting samples of spines attached to heads in order to extract the vital spinal fluids that provide their prey with unique survival traits that they can then splice into themselves to create ultimate predators. Remember that awesome video we saw of predators doing science on predators? Well, now we have context for that scene. Guy Person then says, they're upgrading. And so they head outside and see his Asperger, which prompts him to say, you know, it's pretty amazing how he's managed to learn the alien language and technology. And she responds, you know, a lot of experts say that people who are on the spectrum aren't afflicted with a disorder. They are considered the next step in the evolutionary chain. What the fuck are you doing? You extracted human DNA from the Predator and you conclude that they separate the heads from their victims in order to bring them back home and upgrade themselves from it? What the fuck would be the benefit of getting the survival traits from a species you fucking murdered, you dopey tit? That's just silly. What do you mean they are collecting samples of other species? Every film up to this point has shown it's a matter of honor and pride. They clean their trophies and display them. They don't extract DNA. That's just silly. The Predator didn't kill Billy and then hope to take his DNA home and splice it. He tore that motherfucker's spine out as a fucking trophy. He roared the jungle down as a celebration of fucking up his opponent. But what? We're supposed to assume that the whole time he was just extremely happy that he was able to take Billy's head home and upgrade with it. Fuck you, that is so silly. What about Predator 2? Are we supposed to assume that a whole clan of predators watched one of their own get fucked by this human and then they decided they didn't want his survival traits? They just let him go? There was me thinking it was because they respected his achievement as a human, defeating a hunter that was far stronger and more advanced than him. But no! They just wanted to collect survival juice this whole time. Stop rewriting the classic fucking movies, you insufferable twats. And what's this about people on the spectrum now being more advanced and evolved? Is that your piss poor way of explaining that the kid who should be portrayed with obsession and repetitive behaviors is now a god among men? men, understanding alien technology and languages. And on top of that, why were the science people so adamant about keeping the spinal juice away from the doctor to the point where they would kill her for having it? Why the fuck would they care if she found out the predators were upgrading? Isn't the whole fucking reason you brought her on board to find that out? She's an evolutionary biologist film. Do you remember your own script? This fails so monumentally. How do you fuck up the Predator lore? From a movie standpoint, there was barely any of it anyway, and it was incredibly simple yet awesome to understand. From an extended universe perspective, though, you've just pissed all over a legion of media with your retarded fan fiction. I mean, holy fuck, way to Terminator Genesis the Predator franchise. Let's see how much worse this gets. We cut to Bible Man protecting the Predator dog, who has now reappeared. No, I do not know why. Don't fucking ask me. They decide that since Gaylord lobotomized it, female person can study it? And she even says, hey, nobody shoot my fucking dog. Okay, this is happening now. Fine. Go ahead, movie. Just let me know when that's gonna become important to the plot. Bad guy then shows up and captures everyone except Key and the Punisher. He has dude mate beaten up while he chats with lady female. So then, bad guy explains that the first Predator hijacked the spacecraft it arrived with. It was carrying a gift for the human race and it was trying to stop the other Predators from getting it. So she asks him, why are they here? Which is an odd thing to ask considering he just explained they were here to provide a gift, but he just gives her a completely different answer this time anyway. He says that climate change is going to scorch our planet in 1 generation, maybe 2, and that predators have been increasing their visits so they can grab the best DNA from humans and upgrade with it before we all die. They apparently want to adapt themselves with our DNA before moving in to help survive our world once it's scorched, which is why they've been visiting more and more as time goes on. And so with this coming predator invasion, one of the predators went rogue and tried to provide humans with a weapon to stop said invasion. He was Predator Jesus. This is actually something that takes place in this film. This happens. What the fuck are you doing? They are suggesting that the visit in 87 was to collect DNA from the best humans. The visit in 97 was the same thing, and then the 2 AVP movies were increasing visits thanks to global warming, even though those films were first about hunting aliens and the second was about containment of aliens. They are also suggesting that predators are prepping an invasion of Earth because they like it hot, but they also want to take our survival traits to help them live here, even though they've decided to try and take our DNA now because they've noticed that we're all going to go extinct in a generation from a very scorching Earth. So explain to me how the fuck a human trait helps you survive an environment that killed every human, you witless fuck. And let's be honest here, as if humans have some key trait that would help predators survive Earth. You have once again rewritten the old films. The entire motivation for the Predator visits to Earth was to prep a fucking invasion, and so they try to acquire DNA from the best human fighters to upgrade themselves with. Boiling hot excrement does not actually come close to describing this. We then cut to the super awesome CGI upgraded Predator that I will herein call Retcon. He is breaking into the house of Asperger and kills everyone there while the wife escapes. He then delivers a nut shot, because that's funny, I guess. You know, the bad guys are the government, so seeing him get nutshot is funny. Now, to refocus, everyone needs to find the fallen Predator ship from the beginning. Remember the one that crash landed? Apparently that shit is just lost, so no one could find it despite finding the wreckage and the Predator, but fuck it, whatever. While in the house, Retcon then sees a random doodle that Asperger had on his desk that apparently is a map to the fallen ship. I have no idea why Asperger would have known this information, or why he would have drawn it in a map, or how this map is accurate to real life. But somehow, that very image is enough for Retcon to now know exactly where the downed ship is. And at the same time, Asperger then begins drawing another map while in the custody of Bad Guy for no reason. The bad guys then realize this, and that means that Bad Guy and the Retcon now have a way to get to the ship in prep for the finale. I wish to clarify this one more time with you guys. Asperger drew 2 random pictures, one in his house and one while in custody of Bad Guy, which is a location he somehow everyone knows about for some fucking reason, allowing everyone to meet up there and have a final fight. This is something that actually happens. Somebody wrote that script. I am embarrassed to read this out. Do you guys remember when writing was something people actually cared about? Then we had people like Patrick fucking Willems and Movie Bob settling for mediocrity and encouraging this fucking sewage. As long as we see Predator rip people in half, it's worth it, right? The emotional payoff, it doesn't matter what logic is in any other part of the film. Yeah, you're not gonna get me to agree with that even on my fucking deathbed. So after Bad Guy has delivered his speech to Lady Girl about the new and improved Predator law, he orders her execution, which, dare I even ask why you bothered to explain everything that's happening to the person you were planning to murder anyway? He didn't get any information out of her, he just told her everything about predators. It's unfortunate that they didn't provide this character a mustache to twirl because it really would have suited him. Either way, before she is executed, the Predator dog shows up. Remember him? He's here. And he slowly vomits up a grenade. I guess he ate that earlier, and then for some fucking reason, the guard that was meant to execute her is distracted by this and tries to pick up the grenade, only for female girl to trip him up, pull the pin, and put the grenade into his vest, and he explodes. This allows her to escape. This actually happens in the film. What the fuck? So then Bro Bloke randomly has stomach grumblings and he goes to the toilet and we get his Predator ball back. He pooped it out. So funny. This is a Predator film, by the way. So the good guys get a helicopter, because why not? And they then use it to follow the Predator dog to his master, which means everyone's about to meet up at the downed Predator ship for the finale. I'm so excited. Bad guy forces Asperger to open the ship and they go inside. Meanwhile, the good guys have the area surrounded with Theon sniping and the rest knocking out the guards in the area. I don't know if it's worth saying that we have no fucking clue about this antagonist faction, but we are supposed to be happy that they all get fucking killed, I guess. Because they're the bad guys. I don't know, whatever. Bad guy then asks that they download everything on the ship, and what's in one of these pods might be Project Stargazer, which sounds like a callback to when they first contacted Science Woman lady person, but there's no other reference to Stargazer in the movie. I have no fucking clue. Again, rewrites, reshoots, it's a fucking mess. Most of this stuff was improv anyway. Listen to this fucking laugh from Bad Guy after he says this is for Stargazer.
Stargazer, that's what the fuck it is.
Would you like to do that again, dude? Like, we can do another take. You don't actually sound human. Boy person then uses his invisibility ball and kills everyone in the ship except Bad Guy and Asperger to then walk them out of the ship. But then Theon is killed. Yeah, the retcon just kills him, so he's out. And with that, a firefight starts. The retcon just kills a whole bunch of people we don't know until it can get to the ship, and something truly fucking awful happens. The retcon uses the translating system they apparently have in reverse and sends a message to the humans with some speakers. The retcon says this one for one in this voice. Hello, I have enjoyed watching you kill each other. I have come here to destroy this vessel. You cannot have it. What you can do is run. But there is one among you who is a true warrior, the one called McKenna. He will be your leader. He will be my prize. This is a thing that actually happens in this film. The Predator says that, and as a fan of this rotten mess of a franchise, it was awkward as fuck to listen to. The retcon then somehow manages to display a fucking time limit for them on the translation system. Whatever. And so they all assume that he wants the protagonist. But we actually know that the retcon has only read Asperger Boy's name previously to this, so he's obviously referring to him. And of course, it backs up the claim made earlier about Asperger being an evolution on the human race. That's aside from the fact that this movie makes him a fucking futuristic genius. The retcon must want to have Aspergery added to his genetic pool to assist in survival, I guess. Because that makes as much sense as everything else in this film, for fuck's sake. The Predator dog then shows up again, eats a piece of important technology and gets stored in a van. I am not fucking joking. That happens. And I'm sure he's not going to save the day again later, but just remember that detail, okay? Just remember it, because I've got to say these things because stuff is going to happen later that requires you to have known what's just happened. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you should have gotten used to it by now. Anyway, what remains of the bad guys and the good guys team up together to make 12 people against the retcon. Their plan is to go into the jungle at night and attack it. That's their plan. Our hero and bad guy promise each other that once this is over, they are going to kill each other. Bad guy then fits a plasma caster to his shoulder. I guess he had it from the research they did, and he's going to use it against the retcon. Okay. Shockingly, people start dying, but the first guy dies because he threw the Predator's boomerang knife thing that he happened to have, and it came back and chopped his own hand off. This then prompts bad guy to shoot him in the head, and he says, "You gotta be quiet." They are really pushing that he is the bad guy here, I guess, especially with the "I kill my own men" trope. I suppose it'll be interesting to see his death at the hands of the protagonist at this point. Moments later, one of the other people get pulled into the trees, and bad guy spots the retcon eating him in what is a truly awful piece of CGI. Back to the good guys, they decide to use Key and the Punisher as bait. That doesn't really amount to anything, and the retcon then reappears using a laugh track as he splits a guy in half with a projectile blade, making me curious about tone once again, but fuck it at this point. Then something interesting happens. Retcon fires a shot at Person Lady, she is knocked to the ground, and then she uses the Predator mask from earlier to block a knife, and as a result, the mask releases a shot in retaliation, because that's how that works now, and it knocks the retcon into a trap the good guys have happened to lay where some gas gets farted onto it, and they set it on fire. Now I need to slow this right down. While the retcon is on fire, the Punisher decides to jump on its back and start stabbing it. As a result of this, people start shouting Punisher's name like he's gonna die. Girl Woman is one of these people, and when she shouts his name, bad guy turns to look at her, activating his plasma caster, and he accidentally blows his own fucking head off. And it just cuts again to the Punisher on the retcon's back as if nothing happened. I fucking died in the cinema. I was wheezing. I let out an audible, "What the fuck?" This man is propped up throughout the film as a complete asshole bad guy. He then works with the good guys to bring down the retcon, and there is a promise to have a boss fight with the hero. And then he just fucking blows his own head off, and the film carries on as if nothing happened. Nobody recognizes it, nobody gives a shit, and it happens in about 2 seconds of screen time. This is a scene that takes place in the film. They even show part of this in one of the trailers. Someone wrote this to actually happen. If you'll allow me to put on my tinfoil hat, I have a theory that they had an entire ending that covered bad guy versus hero, but it ended up getting cut because it was shot in daylight, and then they didn't get any extra scenes with bad guys, so they just edited a current scene they had to have the CGI of his plasma caster just blow his own head off, and they just cut him out of the movie. It is so bizarre that I cannot believe that someone would have written that by design. But anyway, moving right along, the Punisher is impaled on a tree, and Key is sliced apart, and they both die. Then the retcon reveals that he was actually searching for the Asperger the whole time, not our protagonist. Shocking stuff. It even picks up Guy Bro by the throat and then throws him away. Ladygirl shoots at it, and it just kicks her away. Doesn't use its weaponry on either of them. Nice to know that plot armor is thick as fuck for our heroes. The retcon then takes the Asperger to its ship, and we get the remaining team members to follow along. They hilariously jump on top of the ship and begin shooting at the hull below them in the hopes that they can bring it down. I have no idea what the fuck they were thinking with this. If you were gonna just fucking shoot the ship down, then why jump onto it, you utter gremlins? So then things get really strange again. The retcon activates a shield around the ship that apparently is able to slice off anything that it comes into contact with. And from there, Bible Man gets chopped in half, only to fall off the ship entirely. I laughed. Then, Gaylord, being the last of the gaggle of idiots, is on the outside of the shield, whilst our hero is on the inside, and so he decides that if he jumps into the ship's turbine, he can down the ship. And he is right. So Gaylord dies, and the ship eventually crashes, leading our main hero, our main heroine, Asperger, and the retcon to have a final battle. The retcon just misses his plasma caster, and then decides to shout until he's finally shot in the face, only to then immediately jump right up to Male Bro, grab him, and then throw him away again. But before retcon can finally achieve victory, Mrs. Lady jumps onto its back and shoots it, only to be thrown away again. And then the Predator dog shows up and spits out the technology it ate earlier for our heroes to defeat the retcon with. It's a high-tech explosive. You think I'm fucking joking, don't you? You think that maybe I've lied about this film, or maybe I'm just telling you something that just couldn't possibly have happened? I'm really not. The fucking dog spits up a fucking weapon to save the day again. Somebody wrote this. While this is all happening, Asperger reactivates the shield on the ship with one touch of a button, and he does it at the perfect time in order to cut off the arm of the retcon. This then allows our protagonist to fashion the explosive technology to the severed arm of the retcon and fire it into the entire thing and kill it. They had time to do this because the fucking predator dog was biting the retcon, keeping him busy. Why the fuck did any of this happen? The scene ends with Man Bloke saying, "What are you?" to the dying retcon, because fuck you. They then kill it to death, and all's well that ends well, until we see an additional scene. We fast forward by some time, and the Jettison pod from the beginning of the film is being opened at a science lab in which Asperger now works. Yes, I am serious, he has a desk there. And it is revealed that what is in this pod is the gift to humanity from that rogue predator at the beginning, to defend against the coming predator invasion of Earth. Again, I have to say, this actually happens in the movie. This is a real thing. For some reason, the moment our protagonist arrives in Science Place, the pod goes crazy and begins to send a message. The message describes the title of the device. It is the Predator Killer. The pod opens, and it's a piece of technology that attaches itself to the closest guy in the room, forming a complete Iron Man Predator suit around him. This thing is complete with massive shoulder cannons, triple simultaneous targeting, and a red and black silver color scheme. This thing is the saddest original Predator character I have ever seen. Please do not steal. And the film ends with our hero saying that suit is for him. Cut to credits. Holy shit, what a fucking nightmare for cinema fans and Predator fans alike. For a guy who starred in the original film, you clearly have no fucking idea what you're doing there, Mr. Black. Let's go over it, shall we? The film just falls flat on its face over and over again to generate a narrative. Incredible good luck and bad luck all over the place in both the good guys and bad guys of the film. The Predator just doesn't have restraints anymore. The dog vomited a handy grenade. The retcon found a doodle of the location. The girl happened to jump on top of the bus that has our main heroes in it. The girl also happened to shoot herself in the fucking foot. The dog brought an alien grenade this time to save the I still can't believe that shit, dude. Logic has been made the enemy once again, and making a movie where smart people battle a smart monster is a distant fucking memory. The callbacks to the original felt forced more and more as time went on, the awful fucking jokes just littering themselves about the script, not only making the audience pause and question whether or not we're supposed to laugh, but actively fighting any tension you could possibly generate from this wannabe horror movie.
There's another level of menace, of terror the Predator can take.
The upgrade is gonna scare the mess out of people. It's just bigger and better and badder.
This is the scariest one.
No, it's fucking not, you liars. This is a horror movie as much as it's a romantic fucking comedy. And that's not to comment on the dreadful fucking dialogue. It's like watching someone write out a script and then randomly remove or switch lines with other ones. This is alongside characters just having information for no other reason than pushing the plot. And as a result, these people are barely human. They are just line dispensers that are waiting to be killed, using actual disorders as a punchline because what the fuck else are you gonna do, right? Combine that with the random science comments to try and support this narrative it's just so utterly misplaced. Which leads me to the absolute defanging of the Predator. That pathetic little shit is knocked out in the beginning, kills a handful of humans that have no idea how to use a rifle, and then its head is smashed in after letting out a pathetic squeal from being terrified by the new cool movie monster. Do you guys remember this motherfucker? Well, this is what it's like now. Do you remember how the people with the Terminator IP couldn't just use the Terminators? They had to generate the super awesome new CGI thing that was the best Terminator ever. And then over to the Alien IP, you had to generate new tank aliens or new albino aliens because the normal ones just aren't good enough anymore. Remember over in the Jurassic Park IP, we have all of these awesome dinosaurs, but instead we have to genetically generate a fucking monster instead? What is with that obsession? You can't use the original movie monster and make it scary, can you? You have to genetically generate something bigger and better. It's the same for Terminator, Jurassic Park, Alien, and fucking Predator.
How does it feel to have lived long enough to see all of your favorite franchises go down in flames?
Feels great.
The wonders of CGI provide us with something better so we can just humiliate the relics of cinema and slap its face to pieces while having it squeal. The fucking AVP movies had more respect for this IP. Speaking of which, what the fuck did you do to this IP, you absolute fucking idiots? If we simply start with your own ideas on continuity, you brought in the retcon for the sole purpose of chasing down the traitor predator and retrieving the technology that was dropped. Technology that is supposed to help humans fight off predators during their coming invasion. Only the retcon had no idea where the small predator went until the kid activated the tech. How did he not see Earth through the fucking rift in the beginning? How would he not figure it out with the obvious process of elimination? I guess predators are planning on invading a shit ton of planets and the retcon got confused. And yet, this stupid fucker just leaves corpses and tech in every environment it visits. They have lost any attention to protecting their gear, which is a fucking staple of the Predator films. And what is the idea that Predator Jesus delivered the pod to protect humanity from predators only to then horrifically murder scores of humans and head to the ship? Seems extremely hypocritical to me. It's not even like remotely explored as a massive contradiction, but it's nowhere near as bad as dropping the full-on special effects glory of the Predator in favor of the CGI mess whose only goal is to apparently weaponize autism. It's only there to be a shocking monster. It has no intelligence or cunning, which is a huge part of what makes Predator so fucking interesting in the first place. But let's consider your ending. What the fuck is the point of a super suit that is meant to protect humans from a predator invasion when the whole reason the predators plan to invade is that Earth will be scorched and no humans will survive it? What the fuck is the suit for? But then, let's shift focus. What have you done to the franchise as a whole? You took the tribal space glory-killing hunter alien badass that preys on strong specimens to prove its dominance throughout the galaxy and turned it into a species that runs around the universe collecting spines to extract spinal fluid to combine with their own DNA to evolve and eventually invade Earth because it's nice and hot there. Do you know what you've done? You've explained a completely different backstory for a creature that already had one, and you accidentally fucked up all of the other movies that preceded it. You have recontextualized classic scenes to mean something completely different. You have reframed whole movies to have a completely different premise. You even tried to fuck up the AVP films. They do not need your help for that. Why is it that whenever a fucking classic franchise is added to, it comes across as the people who are writing it fucking hate it? You have not only confirmed that predators do shit for completely different reasons than what has been established in the other 5 movies, you have also confirmed that the predators value Aspergery as a better trait than anything across the planet because it allows you to access and understand alien technology that they invented. I know people with Asperger's syndrome who are not only going to be insulted by this horse shit, but they will laugh it right out of the fucking cinema. The Predator as a franchise is such a fucking joke. The first movie is incredible in terms of a piece of filmmaking, and we have nothing that comes close to getting there despite 5 movies later. The Predator is now a party trick. Everything down to the fucking roar is played out to hopefully get those fucking tickets bought and paid for. Just look at the trailers, for Christ's sake.
The ultimate predator.
I have had to keep reassuring you throughout this video that this actually happens in the film because it is utter fucking batshit insane that anyone would make these choices. The world building for Predator is fucked. They are an alien race that hunts for Asperger's across the galaxy in the hopes that one day they can settle down on Earth once it's burnt to a crisp. The plot is actually sad. The scenes are edited together by a schizophrenic 5-year-old who can't decide what movie he's actually watching. The characters are a series of lowbrow jokes that have been turned into people. The acting and the one-liners genuinely made me wince in the cinema. The improv was very clearly out of control and broken in terms of a sense of timing, with confusing dialogue being strung together in an order that actually makes it seem as though it was edited out of place by design, even though they're trying to convince us that there's actual progression taking place, which results in this bungled fucking tone. The film has no idea what it wants you to feel about any of this. People die, people joke, people run, people laugh and cry, all within the span of seconds every scene, if you're actually able to pay attention for that long before another scene is shoved in your face along with a shit ton of dick jokes. There is so much more bad to this movie that I haven't covered. I just hope I fit in the biggest things, because this film was a pile of ugly shit. Shane Black is actually touted as being a director of quality that makes incredible films. Please stop saying this. I beg you. He makes violent buddy comedies. That's That's it. His humor is fucking killing movies because it just doesn't belong in them. It's so awful.
Hey, Baxley, if your mom's vagina were a video game, it'd be rated E for everyone.
It's not a predator, that's a sports hunter.
Well, we took a vote. Predator's cooler, right? Fuck yeah.
Which means the humans are fucked.
Yes, that was in one of the trailers for a Predator film. For fuck's sake. Shane Black knows how to generate a black comedy sometimes because his entire thing is being inappropriate. I think he took his character way too seriously in the original film and fucking became him in real life. People let him believe he struck gold, so he used this method of filmmaking in everything he has ever provided. Iron Man is not a black fucking comedy. He turned what was one of the most serious pieces of character progression Tony could ever experience into a fucking joke, laughing at his PTSD again and again until the audience came to realize it wasn't that serious at all. Thank Christ Civil War fixed that shit. And then for some fucking reason he took a horror film based on a hunter alien and applied the exact same fucking black comedy tone to it, fitting about as well as it did for Iron Man. This is probably why he was first to die in the original, so he couldn't possibly fuck it up.
It's not a predator, that's a sports hunter.
Well, we took a vote. Predator's cooler.
Oh, it's not really a predator, but we voted and predator sounds the coolest. They don't fucking... My cat kills things that it doesn't eat. It's still a predator!
Please realize that genre and tone are important when writing, you fool. It's like he can't fucking deal with a scene unless there is a dick or pussy joke in it, but I wish that was the only problem. Some people are saying that this film is so bad that it's only gonna work for Predator fans. What the fuck are you talking about? Predator fans are the one demographic that will absolutely despise this fucking movie. But if you are someone who's looking for a chance to laugh with some crude jokes or laugh at just how fucking incompetently you can make a movie, I suppose I can recommend this, but do not leave your brain switched on. That goes for everyone. I mean, what is the conclusion that we're to make about predators when they actually bring back these fucking specimens to their planet? Oh hey, I have the spine of some guy I killed. We can splice it with our own DNA and upgrade. Why would we splice with something that we're far more advanced than in every way, shape, and form? Especially when you manage to kill it in one-on-one combat. Dear that one guy who works for Universal and has flagged each of my Jurassic videos down manually. Every single clip in this video is sourced from your own company's promotional material. Please take the time to watch through this video and realize that the content created by your company has been completely transformed to not only be absolutely distinguishable from its origin, but to also act as criticism for the god-awful movie they decided to release. I've paid for the damn ticket to see this fucking garbage, and your attempts to make money from me or silence me have been bloody annoying. Please reconsider hitting this video with a claim or strike, because this time around I will fight you till the end. You have absolutely no right to silence those who rightfully criticize your shitty movie. Get over it or hire better writers, but overall, fuck off.
What was that?
T-Rex.
Well, the first one was kind of a train wreck, so let's see how this one goes. But Mahler, this is about dinosaurs. It doesn't need to make sense. The first damn film made sense. The rest of them forgot what sense is, and that's what bothers me.
Alan! Alan!
Good God. So we open up at Isla Nublar, and a team of idiots are trying to collect a sample of the now dead Indominus Rex that was dragged into the den of the Mosasaurus. You remember that, right, guys? Yeah? Okay, good. They open up a door that connects the Mosasaurus den to the ocean somehow? Wasn't the whole point of that enclosure not to be connected to the ocean? Have you retconned it so that something can now escape, movie? That's a not-so-clever girl. In the little bathysphere exploring the den, we have one of the two men explicitly state that everything here is long dead. We know that these guys work for the bad guy in the film, and the plan for the bad guy is to retrieve 11 different species or something on the island, so they do indeed know that things actually live here, making the line utterly retarded. And well, the Mosasaurus is still in there, and it eats them. No, I'm not kidding, it just eats them. But before that happened, they were able to quickly find the corpse of the Indominus Rex, and a bone was successfully sawn off for retrieval. Imagine if they had taken it up with them on the pod, that bone would have been lost. Lucky. Meanwhile, the guy operating the door that connects the den to the ocean gets attacked by a T-Rex that popped up just in time. And as a result, his iPad was only half loading, the door closing, and being crushed prevents it from closing the door now? Why wouldn't it be binary? You hit close and the door closes. Why do you need a constant connection to the iPad? A system like that sounds incredibly unsafe and downright ineffective, proven by the fact that the Mosasaurus actually escapes. So, Yeah. Oh, and the guy with the iPad died as well, because for some reason his headset didn't allow him to talk to people on the helicopter, you know, his team. They had to try and shout to him that there was a T-Rex standing behind him, and so he was too late and he got finished off by the Mosasaurus. What is even happening here? How far after the first film are we? Who are these people? What the hell are they doing? This is a nonsensical attempt at retrieving a sample. Why do it at night? Why do you have so few people? Why do you have no precautions? Why do you believe everything is dead? They have the tech to open up the gate, so they should know a hell of a lot more about this island than they clearly fucking do. Could you not scan for the Mosasaurus? It can't hide. The motherfucker is enormous, and the pen is actually limited. It's okay, we got to see a guy get eaten. It was so cool. Let's move on. We then get an expositional news report that basically says there's a volcano active on the island. It was there the whole time, and now it's about to erupt. So everyone's arguing over whether or not the dinosaurs should be saved. I find it ridiculous that everyone on Earth has apparently left this island alone aside from activists up to this point, but apparently that is the case. These things are worth millions. They are one of a kind. They are unguarded. They are perfect for the black market. Nobody apparently gives a shit, and only activists are interested in them. Okay. We then get to catch up with Dr. Ian Malcolm, and you should remember him because he starred in the other Jurassic films.
No.
Not to mention that they made sure to remind you that he was absolutely going to be in this film. He is back.
There are incredible new dinosaurs, an exploding volcano, and Dr. Ian Malcolm's back.
Taiwan, this is Dr. Malcolm.
Jeff Goldblum, not gonna lie, that's pretty awesome.
There are terrifying new dinosaurs, an exploding island, and Jeff Goldblum's back.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jeff Goldblum. And gee, I'm so thrilled to be back as Dr. Ian Malcolm.
So I can't wait to see his involvement with the story. Let's check out his first scene, shall we? Malcolm argues that we shouldn't save the dinosaurs as they are incredibly dangerous. Thus, people begin to call him a murderer in the crowd. This is priceless considering the history of this continuity and what happens when they end up trying to get these things over to civilized society, but fuck it, they don't remember apparently. Which means he's a murderer. And that's the end of the scene. Looking forward to him popping back, really am. So then we see, what's her name? Annoying robotic lady who outran a T-Rex in heels. Can I call her Heels? I'm calling her Heels. Heels, since we last saw her, has set up some kind of organization where she tries to rescue the dinosaurs, or at least push the idea that they should be rescued. Her opening dialogue is about how she is trying to get funding, which raises the question of how do they generate money to even have what they have now? How can they make a difference when they aren't visiting or supporting the island whatsoever? Why are so many people working for them with nothing to do and no way to be paid? There's like 20 of these fuckers. Why? What do you even do? Ring senators and maintain a fucking website for 3 years? Why are you putting this much effort into saving dinosaurs anyway? Those things are dangerous if you didn't catch the memo. The motivation for this entire organization, as stated by the film, is Heels explaining that we shouldn't allow a world where our children could grow up without dinosaurs, which kids can look at the damn pictures in a book like I did, for fuck's sake. Children get amazed by car keys. We don't need dinosaurs just for them. Make a better argument. Let's not risk several lives here for no reason. Oh, god damn it. You know what? Why are all the dinosaurs inexplicably isolated on this island anyway? How haven't the pterodactyls escaped like the ones from the third film and the fourth film? I find it unbelievable that the island has been untouched for 3 fucking years when we have so many factions that would kill to get their hands on them. And they have shown that people can get here outside of the law easily to get involved with dinosaurs. And I feel like a fucking alien in this world because there is such a thing as Site B. Remember Isla Sorna? It was the island of choice in The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3, an island with a shit ton of dinosaurs all roaming free. Does anyone want to talk about that one? Are people going to poach from that one? Are there rights to discuss about the dinosaurs on that island? Everyone in this film keeps saying that if Isla Nublar is destroyed, then the dinosaurs go extinct, but that simply isn't true. You have strong references to the classic film. You have Dr. Ian fucking Malcolm. Enjoy the benefits you get by referencing these fan favorite elements. But if you're gonna do that, you can't ignore your own continuity, you silly bastards. But yeah, world building isn't a thing films like to do these days. They don't even try, so fuck it. I mean, in fairness, people believe that you shouldn't consider the second and third films to be canon, and that there is promotional material to explain that they moved moved all the dinosaurs from Site B to A. This just adds way more universal questions to the movies, but I'm cutting that shit at the roots. It should absolutely have been mentioned in the films, so it ain't good writing, folks. Heels is then called by Benjamin Lockwood, John Hammond's ex-partner that helped clone dinosaurs. He was apparently some kind of right-hand man to Hammond, and they broke up before the events of Jurassic Park. Oh, you don't remember him from the other films? Well, it's because he doesn't fucking exist. He's a discount John Hammond to make this seem like it actually fits in with the story of the first film. It doesn't. They even bait our sense of nostalgia with a painting of Hammond himself. It's not going to work, film. You actually need to be good first. Also, there is a little girl in the mansion. She will matter at some point, remember her. Anyway, Discount Hammond says that Heels should go and save all the dinosaurs from Isla Nublar. She can bring them to a new piece of land they have created, and they can be protected and live and whatever. His main statement is, these creatures don't need our protection, they need our absence. Spoken unironically as he explains the plan to abduct them, monitor them, and deliver them to this piece of land that is surrounded by barriers, since they will die without human intervention and protection. Dumbass. And let's not forget, by the way, that the quote he is referencing from Hammond in this scene is from The Lost World.
These creatures require our absence to survive, not our help.
How's that for erasing the second and third films from continuity? Yeah, I didn't think so. Apparently they need Heels and her crew because this whole thing is illegal and her access will get them to the scanner that shows where all the dinosaurs are. It then turns out that there's some young dude who works for Discount Hammond. He is the one who will organize everything for him these days, and if you saw the trailer, we already know he's evil. So, Bad Guy then says that she needs to bring in Star-Lord since he's the only one that can capture Blue, and Blue is the super important dino that they absolutely must capture. Apparently. So she agrees to the expedition and goes to convince Star-Lord to come. The main argument she uses on him is how much he cares about Blue, commenting on how Blue is practically his kid. Obviously the fact that he's been building a cabin for 3 years means he is totally desperate to get back to his surrogate child. He hasn't completely forgotten about the love he shares for the overgrown feral chicken that betrayed him twice. And thankfully, Star-Lord pretty much says he's not interested, and neither should she be, but Heels tells him he's a good man. So all we can draw from this is that apparently Star-Lord and Heels broke up after they got together from the last film, which was after they broke up and after they got together originally, leading them to get together in this film, but what the fuck ever. The writers think it's cute to keep tearing them apart and slamming them back together, so we're gonna have to watch another film of that, I guess. So that night, Star-Lord checks out some old recordings of him and Blue bonding when she was a puppy dinosaur, and it's adorable. The point is that he's coming too, because why the fuck not? We then get two new characters along with the ones we already have. Tech Guy, who is good with tech, and Biology Girl, who is good with biology on dinosaurs despite never having seen a dinosaur in real life. The film points this out as if it totally makes sense. Okay. They eventually arrive at Isla Nublar and we find that there is already a huge set of foot soldiers here. Teams of people preparing for the dino capturing. Basically the Lost World again, and I'm gonna pause here. I'm not mad, okay? I'm not mad. Let's just think about this a little bit more. The island is filled with dinosaurs. There's no protection on it, since people can just roll up illegally without being stopped. And these guys are the only faction that tried to take a dinosaur? You're telling me that people are going to end up shelling out millions by the end of this film to buy these things? Upwards of 30 million for a single dinosaur, and none of them care about getting as many as they want of any species for free in the last 3 years. This is public knowledge. It was a massive worldwide park. Its shutdown would have been a major story throughout the world. Could you imagine how many poachers or pirates would try for this shit? There could be a full-on industry. Hell, that is the point the film is making at the end, that you could set yourself up for life by selling just one of them. It should be easy, since some of them escaped already, remember? Ah, fuck it, turn your brain off, we're having fun. Our team of heroes is joined by Buffalo Bill, who will play the evil hunter for this film. First thing they do is rip off Jurassic Park, because I mean, what else can happen in these films outside of the scene where they all look surprised by the Brachiosaurus walking past? We gotta get that one in, don't we, folks? Next, Buffalo Bill takes them to a base to activate a tracking system that has to be activated by Heels and no one else, and it lights up all the dinosaurs on the island. Heels and Tech Guy stay in the station, and the rest go to capture Blue Blue while the troops all capture dinosaurs across the island. They eventually reach Blue and Star-Lord calms her down, but one of the troops fires a trank a little too early. I don't know why. The troops are evil, so that's probably enough for him to do it, I suppose. Blue kind of flips out because of this and tries to eat one of the troops, so they shoot her with a single pistol shot and she's down. Now try and follow me on this, because the film starts to lose its shit. As a result of what just happened, Star-Lord charges Buffalo Bill, and Bill shoots him with a sedative, which then leads to Biology Person pulling a gun on Bill, and she says if they shoot her, she can't save Blue, and so they make a deal to let her live in exchange for saving the raptor's life. So they all leave to evacuate the island with Blue and the dinosaurs, leaving Star-Lord behind, knocked out on the ground. And I'm sorry, I cannot resist. What the fuck? The good guys are blown away by the fact that the troopers just shot a fucking dinosaur when she was in the process of killing a man. Since when do we value the lives of dinosaurs over the people in this expedition? Why is it unreasonable to shoot a dinosaur that's eating your face? The good guys are again blown away by Buffalo Bill then shooting Star-Lord with a trank when it's absolutely reasonable. I probably would have done the same thing if I was holding a tranquilizer rifle and a muscle-built angry man was charging at me, but no, this makes him reprehensible now. Thirdly, we have the biology asshole pulling a gun on Bill because what? He defended himself? She's taking a strong forward step to defend someone she doesn't even know here. Like, why does she care so much about Star-Lord? Better yet, why doesn't she care about him at all seconds later? Think about this, for fuck's sake. Biology asshole decides to threaten Bill's life for the sole reason that her friend was shot with a trank. Buffalo Bill looks pretty confused, and then he says, well, you're outgunned. I'm not kidding. The biology person just picks up the gun and demands not to be killed when they didn't even have guns on her in the first place. Is there dialogue missing here? I know the troops are evil. The trailer makes it very clear.
It was all a lie!
But you could have had a better reason for the turn than this nonsense. On top of it, we have Biology Girl just agreeing to leave Star-Lord behind. Why not demand that he's taken with you? Otherwise you won't save the raptor. Why are you leaving him to die? Do you not care? Oh, is this so we can have that funny scene where he moves his arms one by one to escape the lava? It's annoying to think that this entire scenario was created because one of the troopers fired too early with his trank gun. Other than that, everything is to plan from the perspective of the good guys. Like I said, the film treats it like one faction betrays the other here, which they actually do a little bit later, but they haven't done it yet. All I can see here is the troops protecting themselves and their own men. Why was the trooper too early anyway? What exactly was Star-Lord going to do in this scenario that would have made tranquilizing Blue more reasonable in a minute from now? And should I even bother mentioning that putting a man down with a trank meant for a dinosaur should probably have some repercussions? Like, I don't know, I imagine it would kill him. Instead, he just wakes up about 10 minutes later. Anyway, the troops then head into the beach to try and evacuate the animals, but because betrayal is now in effect, they lock Heels and Tech Guy into the station that monitors the dinosaurs in an attempt to kill them, meaning that they definitively want to kill the four good guys now. So why didn't they execute Star-Lord? God damn it, stop punishing me for thinking. So Bill calls Bad Guy, and they talk about how innumerably important Blue is, and he will get a bonus for it. This is important for later. Meanwhile, Tech Guy and Heels begin to see lava pouring into the station, and I guess that's how the bad guys expected them to die there? That's just silly. But the Tech Guy almost easily hacks a door open, which the bad guys should have known about because he did it right in front of them earlier, and he even insulted them for assuming he couldn't do it. So why was this the plan, to kill them instead of shooting them? That's really fucking silly. Tech Guy then hacks the terminal and opens up this random, ridiculously long tube that leads outside. Instead of them using the ladder to go up immediately or opening the front door, they open a giant tube. That's just so fucking silly. Why the big tube, for fuck's sake? Unluckily for them, the moment they open this giant tube, a random dinosaur just happens to walk in the other end. He's big enough to be a massive threat, but small enough, of course, to fit in the tube and the room. Why not? It's not like that would be fucking silly. So the creature gets in, but the lava falling in through the ceiling protects our heroes as they climb up the ladder to safety, and my God, fuck off, you stupid seed. The volcano is now erupting violently, and once they get atop the facility, Heels and Tech-Man bump right into Star-Lord as he's running from the lava. Well, gee, isn't that lucky? Wonder if he'll end up saving them. They run together until they bump right into one of the old gyrosphere things. Gee, that's just such gosh darn luck. But they can't get into it right away, so they decide to hide behind a log, and I shit you not, the dinosaurs begin to slowly chop away at it, piece by piece from either side, reducing it down to a nub, instead of just going through the center straight away. It's so laughably done, I'm just reminded of Kill Bill.
Go home to your mother!
So there's a few dinosaur fights, explosions, and screaming that leads to our group falling into the ocean right before the volcano catches up. And yeah, Star-Lord gets engulfed by volcanic smoke. I don't science, so if he should be dead here, then, I mean, cool, but I don't know. It looks cool. That's obviously what they were going for. And then we get the scene where the submerged ball is sinking slowly and filling with water. It's mostly a single shot panning around with loads of interaction from the creatures, the eruption, and Star-Lord swimming around as he looks for a way to get them out. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Goddamn. My cold dead heart just had to beat there, didn't it? So they make it to shore, and Star-Lord explains that it was a double cross. He doesn't go into any detail about it because there is nothing that they were doing that wasn't a part of the plan. So I'm just confused for our characters. Heels even shouts that it was all a lie, which isn't something she can say yet because, like I said, everything is going to plan. The rescue of these dinosaurs is still in effect. What's the lie exactly, you twat? I understand that they tried to kill you here, but I feel like this dialogue is only present because the movie wants us to just go along with the bad guys being bad guys from the audience and character perspective when we haven't even heard from the auction yet. We don't know anything about it. And by the way, we're almost halfway through the film. This is practically an admission that if not for the one trigger-happy guy earlier, everything would be running as if there were no bad guys. Please get your plot together, film. What the fuck are you doing? We then see Buffalo Bill yank a tooth right out of the jaw of a herbivore. This is incredibly important because the third act rests on this point. No, I'm not fucking kidding. This guy's teeth-collecting habit will define the finale for this film, so please remember it. Heels then declares that the only reason they had all of the good guys come was to capture Blue. All of them were for that purpose and nothing else. Anyway, the troops all leave the island on the boat and our heroes are right behind them in what is a wonderfully summer action blockbuster scene. They bump into a vacant truck and use it to drive off the edge of the dock and land on the ship. Incredible. Should I point out how stupid it is that it was left that close to the ship instead of used by the other people? Especially when there was apparently a space for it, and that space ends up being perfect for our heroes. Not to mention that no one seems to care to check who was driving that truck, since all of the troopers are supposed to assume these guys are dead, but whatever, Heels puts a hat on, so it's fucking fine apparently. Soon after that, there's this really well shot but utterly cheesy moment where a Brachiosaurus is standing at the dock staring at the ship leave while making complainy sounds. The smoke engulfs it, and I think we're supposed to cry. Most of the people on the ship do, but why is there only one dinosaur on this dock? Where are the hordes? Why does it look at the boat like it'll save him when he can't possibly understand what it even is? And it's just so bizarre that they built the park next to this volcano. I suppose it was dormant at the time, so that makes sense. It's just so sad. Heels cried. She cries a lot. The bad guy then meets up with Arnim Zola. He's in the film to play the evil auctioneer, and now the audience finds out what the nefarious purpose behind all of the troopers was. They are capturing dinosaurs to sell them on the black market to make millions. Meaning this scene should have been edited in well before the Blue scene, because it would actually make this a lot easier to follow, but whatever. Bad guy pitches Zola that he can sell the dinosaurs to the military, because why not? They tried this stupid bullshit before, remember that?
These animals to replace thousands of boots on the ground. How many lives would that save? War is part of nature.
The film was criticized for this, but they doubled down for the sequel. Laughably, there's an attempt to justify it as if the writers are talking to the critics by bringing up how humans have used animals in combat throughout history. The examples are horses, which, yes, but we have vehicles now, dumbass. Elephants, which, yes, but we have tanks now, dumbass. And finally, diseased rats. He references the use of diseased rats during war to explain why we should pick up using dinosaurs in war. For Christ's sake, you know what? I'm gonna come back to that. He goes on to say that the Indominus Rex took down the entirety of Jurassic World alone. It's an incredible weapon and a great basis for the new creatures, while basically pointing to the bone from the beginning. But the security system and, well, the plot of that film is utter horseshit. I might make a video for it at some point, but until then, you can always watch Wolf Eviscerated instead. Yeah, I know, he's absolutely the worst thing on the planet, I know, but Jurassic World is even worse. Link in description. So anyway, they have apparently created a brand new dinosaur to rival the Indominus Rex called the Indoraptor. It's the Indominus Rex, but smaller and without the ability to camouflage or the ability to be undetectable thermally. Also, it has a yellow stripe. How is this an improvement? Well, he goes on to say that thanks to Star-Lord's research, it follows human commands. I can't wait to see how they're going to explain that fucking nonsense. Anyway, the little girl overheard the whole conversation and she decides to share it with Discount Hammond. But we get the fucking not now kiddo trope where he tells her to go to bed because she's too young to be up, despite the fact that she is telling him directly that his inheritor is going to auction off the dinosaurs and betray his entire life's work. Despite the fact that she is that specific and direct about it, he says, "Oh, you must have misheard them." He then moves on to say that he'll listen to her in the morning, not now, which, if you've seen any other film before, you know that means he's already dead. So we cut back to the ship and our heroes find that Blue is bleeding to death, still, from that gunshot. You know, the one from hours ago? Yeah, Blue is still alive despite hemorrhaging since the shot. That's the word the film uses, by the way, not me. How do you survive hemorrhaging for hours when you're a fucking velociraptor? That's just So Star-Lord then declares to all the characters that this whole thing is for an auction. I don't know how he found this out. I think there's a scene that's been cut because he didn't ask a random soldier or hear a conversation. They treat it as though he watched the scene with Zola like we did. Either way, he knows now, whatever. So I have to ask the bad guys something here in relation to what we saw earlier. If the reveal is going to be that the animals are being auctioned off instead of saved, which will turn the good guys against you, and they can only find out about this as early as being well into the boat ride, then you could have had the good guys helping you all the way up to now. You could easily have maintained the lie. In fact, the good guys are risking their lives to save a dinosaur despite knowing the truth right now. A dinosaur that you want alive to get more money for. So why not play it cool and capture them or kill them once they find out the truth, instead of betraying them as early as the moment you downed Blue? As far as they knew, you were still helping them, for fuck's sake. It's such a bizarre circumstance. The tranq dart they shot into Star-Lord could easily have been shaken off as a misunderstanding. Like, funnily enough, when it happens in Jurassic Park 3, they knock out Grant and it's just treated as fine, because that's something humans do when you get angry. But no, the bad guys are just retarded, yet the story is still working out for them. Obviously, once we get to Act 3, that won't be the case. Anyway, they need to get a transfusion for Blue since she's bleeding out still, and then there's some dialogue that actually happens that this is dialogue from the film, okay? Biology Girl says you have to get a carnivore because only carnivore blood will work, and it has to be one with 2 or 3 fingers. Why? Is it because those requirements means that the subject has to be the T-Rex? If we ignore the fact that they clearly wrote this to involve the T-Rex in a fan-servicey way, how in the world does the T-Rex blood work on a velociraptor exactly? Wouldn't the raptor's blood reject the shit out of that, since they're completely different species? Whoa, this whole film is so well written. So Biology Girl sends them to go get the blood. They open up the cage of the T-Rex and fumble around it for a while until they get to sap the blood out into the bag, and there's this tension-filled moment where the dinosaur breaks free of its leg chain. It nearly eats Star-Lord after roaring its lungs out, but then they successfully get out with the blood and walk back and save Blue. Well, what the fuck? Why are there no stationed guards on the Tyrannosaurus Rex? Seems like the one that's most dangerous, so you might want to have someone keeping an eye on it, you idiots. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I guess its chains could be broken open. Come to think of it, why is it so easy to do that when the cage is designed for a goddamn T-Rex? Do they not need to repair that now? Is it going to escape? It's all tied up later, so I don't... How does this shit work? Like, why was no one alerted to the fucking roars and destruction of the cage? Not to mention the chains being broken and the screams from heels. Some guys literally went past 1 minute before and they don't hear all of this? Come on. Also, how the fuck did she know how to do this to a T-Rex? To sap blood out of it? Oh wait, I know why. Biology lady asks if anyone can find a vein, and I shit you not, Heels says this: I did a blood drive once for the Red Cross.
Oh! Oh, okay! Well, that makes it okay then!
Since fucking when was that a thing? She just did a blood drive with the Red Cross at some point and found someone's vein, which now leads her to be able to get blood from a Tyrannosaurus Rex. What happened to the script? We then cut to the little girl breaking into the underground lab below the mansion. No, I don't know what the hell she's doing here. Let's find out. She walks into a random room and just, you know, sits at a chair and goes to a computer and hits the space bar on a video. Okay, apparently someone left it on, and that's the thing she wanted to do. Lucky there's no security or workers around, eh? Like, I don't know, the specific worker who left this on screen. Fuck it. The videos show that the Raptors would attack Star-Lord if ever he showed himself to be weak, while Blue would nurture him. Blue is morally and empathetically superior to the other Raptors, which is kind of bullshit considering the previous movie, but this is here to set up Blue as the superhero of the franchise, so just fucking go with it. And it's lucky that the little girl and the audience saw this video, because without that, it would be very difficult to accept Blue as a superhero later on. But it doesn't stop there. The little girl discovers Dr. Wu. Remember him from the last one? Yeah, neither do I. Well, he's been working on this project, and it is revealed that he wants Blue because she can imprint on the next Indoraptor, providing it empathy and obedience. Do they realize that Blue is not fucking empathetic or obedient when it comes to the people she eats? Yes, she likes Star-Lord, but let's assume that's fucked because of this fiasco, not to mention the surgery that Blue wailed and cried through. I doubt she's gonna trust anyone anymore. What is it you hope to achieve here? Have the new thing look at Blue as a mother so it'll listen to you? Every plan you ever come up with for control ends in a fucking mess, and yet you constantly assume you got it this time. Oh god, that's the theme, isn't it? Man creates that which it cannot hope to control. People are going to justify the writing with the themes again. No! So then the little girl is caught by bad guy and locked in her room. Meanwhile, our heroes wake up and see that they are running out of time before reaching port. Tech guy gets pulled away to help a sailor move rope. This is very random at first, but it will become incredibly important without a lick of sense behind it later, so remember that. They move all the dinosaurs from the ship onto a convoy. Our heroes join the convoy in a truck and move with it. Discount Hammond has a meeting with bad guy. Apparently he now knows for a fact what he has done. I'm gonna go ahead and hazard a guess that his butler told him. He says what's happening is wrong and that he will definitely call the police if he wasn't so old, frail, and near death. So he asks bad guy to just do it for him. So instead, bad guy just kills him. He says his motivation is making money, and then he just kills him. Just scraping the bottom of the barrel for narrative progression here, aren't we? He also has the iconic walking stick smashed in this scene, and no, I'm not making any jokes about how it represents the Jurassic franchise, since that shit was dead from the second and third films alone. Fucking ring-toed dinosaurs, stupid. Our heroes are then spotted and captured by Buffalo Bill moments before they can make an escape. It's actually kind of lame. Not unrealistic, just lame. Consider running when they were at the dock or separating from the convoy at all at some other point. Hell, they could even have had Heels jump out into the forest, but nah, they just waited for an off-road to get to a town, and wouldn't you know it, right before they could, Bill captured them. The dinosaurs are then taken down into the basement of the research center and locked up, as is the same for Star-Lord and Heels. The villain is then given his opportunity to share his motivation in full, explaining what his purpose here is, and it's fucking laughable. He explains that he wants to exploit the animals for money, just like Heels did all those years ago by signing off on the Indominus Rex. So you see, they are no different. And I shit you not, she is stunned by this. She has no argument for him. But since I do this shit for a living, let me help you, Heels, you fucking tool. Heels considers her actions in Jurassic World to now be morally wrong, and has since tried to rectify them by creating her dumbass help center for dinosaurs that they don't have access to. However stupid it may be, this means she thinks that you are doing something wrong, and that she's made this same mistake before. Secondly, bad guy lied to everyone involved outside of the mercenaries. He lied to get the specialists to come, and he lied to Discount Hammond to fund everything. Heels didn't lie to anyone when she signed for the Indominus Rex. Thirdly, it was a product she helped create and sell on a legal market. The public understood what they were buying, as did those who were developing it. Bad Guys doing this illegally with an attempt to run it through the black market instead. Finally, Bad Guys willing to have people kidnapped and killed to complete his vision, while Heels cancelled the entire thing once a single life was threatened. You two are very fucking far away from each other in terms of characters, but Heels is too retarded to understand that. This is such a weak effort to make the villain understandable. Please try a little harder next time. Also, Bad Guy says that Star-Lord failed to realize how he could have sold his work, which still doesn't make sense since all he did was feed raptors and hang around as they grew up. This is apparently revolutionary in making the dinosaurs something obedient, despite the fact that they actively tried to murder him. So the conversation ends with Bad Guy saying that as far as the world is concerned, Star-Lord and Heels both burned up on the island, but he doesn't kill them, he just keeps them in prison for no fucking reason at all. Brilliant. So anyway, the little girl escapes her room and finds Discount Hammond has died, so she goes down the dumbwaiter before anyone can find her. Meanwhile, the Bad Guy and Zola welcome the buyers to the auction. Lucky for our heroes, they discover that there is a Stiggy Moloch in the cell next to theirs.
We just all love the Stiggy Moloch.
What? Is that seriously in the promotional stuff?
Be the Stiggy Moloch.
We just all love the Stiggy Moloch.
Ugh, whatever. So it's like a video game. Star-Lord can just whistle and the thing will attack the wall he is near, thus releasing both the dinosaur and our heroes from their cells. It's that fucking easy, folks. Why didn't you just kill them, Bad Guy? Was it because they can escape and fuck everything up? We then see the auction is in full effect and the assets are being sold for millions. Wait, millions? I honestly would expect these things to sell for a hell of a lot more, considering every aspect of what they represent and how difficult they are to acquire, but there we are. Not going to focus on that. Not a dinosaur salesman, just a YouTube scientist. So the dinosaurs are sold and some are transported immediately with the black market person who bought them, sure to return in a sequel. Meanwhile, our heroes bump into the little girl and try to escape with her. She went down to the basement for some reason, I don't know. Then the auction is introduced to the Indoraptor. It's given massive praise and the audience goes wild trying to buy it. Our heroes witness it and decide that they can't let it leave the area. They have to stop it. The Indoraptor, of which I shall simply call Yellow because of the goofy strip they gave it to oppose Blue, very clever film, is revealed to have a lasing target system that allows it to... Hang on. They have a gun. It shoots a laser. The laser has to target something and then they hit a button and it makes it so that the Indoraptor goes insane and tries to kill whatever that laser was pointing at. So this is going to have military applications. This is what you consider to be following human commands. Alright. What the fuck? They said Star-Lord's research has helped them figure out controlling this thing. It responds to human commands. How is it that you managed to convert some research, like a random fucking guy feeding puppy-like creatures bits of meat, into laser technology that can render a hyper-intelligent raptor into a fucking house cat? How the fuck does that work? I love how this thing's potency is explained by it coming from the bone of the fucking Indominus Rex, and that thing managed to destroy Jurassic World, remember? Except it escaped because some fucking idiot opened a door because everyone walked inside its fucking paddock before checking its goddamn tracker. Fuck you. The Indominus Rex was just lucky in that film. It even got killed by a T-Rex. And don't forget the pterodactyl bit with the fucking helicopter. Oh my god, that movie sucked. The point here is you need to give up the militarization bullshit. It is so cartoony and stupid. Dinosaurs are knocked out with as much as one fucking bullet as shown in this film. They would be shit in a war. Dinosaurs need to be fed, sheltered, groomed, and rested. They are massive creatures with massive needs. They would be shit in a war. Dinosaurs need to be able to actually tell the difference between civilians and enemies. I guess that feeding them from birth will make it so that they never attack their own team like Blue does. Fuck off, that's stupid. They would be shit in a war. Dinosaurs are weak to gas, wonky terrain, explosives, enemy shrapnel. They're also huge targets. They would be shit in a war. What the hell are they gonna do against a shotgun? Run up to a guy and fucking hope he doesn't fire? They would be shit in a war. Don't try and justify it by referencing the fact that Soviets once used diseased rats. How the fuck is that the same thing, you donkey? Oh, I'm sorry, was I supposed to turn my brain off? That's how you enjoy bad films, right? So Star-Lord decides that in order to prevent the Indoraptor from leaving the area, he will unleash the Stygimoloch onto the crowd while he stops the Indoraptor from being provided to the customer.
We just all love the Stygimoloch.
Fuck off, you completely idiotic cretins. How do you not foresee this incredibly stupid decision for what it is? Releasing that dinosaur will kill many people. Why are you doing it? Oh right, to prevent a different dinosaur from being released, resulting in killing people when it was already caged. For fuck's sake. Lo and behold, the Stygimoloch starts arbitrarily killing people. Several are impaled while others' backs are simply broken. While this is happening, Star-Lord starts to dominate all of the enemy soldiers in a fight. Why? Well, he's been retired for 3 years and an animal trainer for several years before that, but he was in the Navy at some point, so that means he can beat all of these armored, armed, and trained fucking guards. He seriously wipes through 5 of them and achieves his goal of making Yellow stay in the room while many of the customers have just been killed in the background. So Buffalo Bill shows up. He's demanding his pay for the capture of the animals, and he's interested in how crowds of people are fleeing in terror from the building. We also see the Stygimoloch run away, so there's another loose end for you. But Yellow is still confined to a cage, so everything's okay, right? There's no threatening bad guy in this film. Well, Bill goes into the room, and I'm not fucking kidding here. He hits Yellow with 2 tranq darts and walks into its cage while leaving the fucking cage door open and goes to try and get a tooth. Why the fuck would he do that? This is so beyond stupid. Fuck you, film. Fuck you for not having any faith in your audience's brains. You couldn't even try to write something better than that? To release the movie monster every goddamn time in these films, it's always some stupid reason. The whole point about this is being unable to control life that through chaos finds a way to escape the bonds we put on it in the first place. Why is it that the first film is the only one that actually manages to send this message? The rest of them just throw their fucking hands up in the air and say, I don't know, the T-Rex just killed everyone on board somehow, or they all walked into the enclosure because they were fucking curious about the deadliest predator on the planet, or some stupid asshole has a teeth collection. Fuck you. So the raptor wakes up and eats Bill. Shocking. From there, it turns out Zola hasn't actually left the room and decides that now is his opportunity to run. What the fuck have you been doing this whole time, you absolute wanker? He gets into the elevator and closes it before Yellow can reach him, but Yellow accidentally breaks the elevator button and it just opens up the door, resulting in Zola's death. We need to have a chat about merciless killings, film. Also, need I remind you that we are now in a position where the genetically modified dinosaur is the one that's going to be killing people again. And who's gonna stop it? Well, it's gonna be the same people again. Woohoo. So then we have this utterly fucking bizarre scene where our heroes bump into the bad guy and he just explains to our heroes and the audience that the little girl is a fucking clone. She is a clone. Apparently Discount Hammond made a clone of his daughter because she died in a car crash and the little girl is that clone. Actual Hammond broke off their partnership because of that. And I find myself asking,
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
We barely fucking knew this girl. We don't know Discount Hammond at all. This reveal is fucking pointless unless it's going to be the reason for something later. Oh god. Anyway, Yellow arrives and kills the bodyguard people. Nobody cares. Then Dr. Wu and his supplies are shipped off site so he can return for the 3rd film. Wonderful. At the same time, Tech Guy just fucking shows up. He was asked to carry off a bit of rope and work as a sailor. Now he's a scientist, helping Dr. Wu. How did that happen? Using this position, he frees Biology Girl and she frees Blue onto the remaining soldiers, who are so inept they can't fire a fucking gun when more than a meter away from a dinosaur, resulting in their deaths. We have a Last Jedi moment here too. The room is filled with people, then the tech guy does some traitor stuff, and then they're all just gone by the time he turns around. They're all out of earshot as well, apparently, because there's lots of screams and gunfire. Wonderful filmmaking. Did I mention, by the way, one of the bullets that were randomly fired during this scene opened up a canister of gas ready to blow. Our heroes sprint from the room immediately, but Blue hasn't quite gotten the realization yet. But once Blue sniffs the gas, she realizes it's about to blow and so jumps out of the room like Ethan fucking Hunt just before the flames reach her. This is so cheesy. As a result of all this, chemical X begins to seep into the compound, threatening the lives of all the dinosaurs that are locked up. And then, instead of escaping, Yellow has decided to chase the ever-loving shit out of the little girl to the point where it climbed all the way over the roof of the mansion to the other side and drops down into her room where she's hiding. Why not escape, you retarded turkey? You're supposed to be intelligent. Stop hanging around. I would also like to point out that this thing is free as a result of Star-Lord's plan to prevent it from getting free. So next up, there is a scene where Star-Lord shoots Yellow with 3 live bullets. It does nothing, and he runs out of ammo. I don't even with this fucking film. Is Yellow immune to bullets now? You even gonna bother explaining that one? Of course fucking not. Not to mention that Star-Lord only had 3 bullets in the gun. Damn, that's just unlucky. Anyway, moments before they die, Blue comes in and saves the day. She seriously beats the shit out of Yellow just as much as the reverse happens, over and over again, until they all end up somehow on a roof. Blue, Yellow, Heels, Star-Lord, little girl, they're all there. And it's like a big standoff because the roof is dangerous and you could fall right through it. So Heels comes up with the fantastic idea of using the gun with the laser sight on Star-Lord. And it's clear by the end of the scene that she wanted Yellow to jump for him and kill itself. But until that even comes close to happening, it honestly looks like she wants to fucking kill him. And I couldn't help but laugh. She just lasers him up when she could have done the exact same fucking thing with the floor he was on or the roof itself, but she didn't even try that. So Yellow jumps and Blue jumps onto it to make sure it falls down and slams Yellow onto the horns of the fossil below them in the trophy room. Look how big that fucking room is. What are the odds it fell through the only dangerous part? Fuck you. So the Indoraptor is just dead. Died the exact same way as the Master did, for fuck's sake. But it's not over. Our heroes return to the control room because they have to decide to free the dinosaurs onto the world or let them die in captivity to Chemical X. They decide to let them die, since anything else would be a massive fucking mistake. But, unbeknownst to the adults, the little girl hits the button and sets them free. And she says it's because they are clones like she is. What the fuck, woman? Are they actually employing the naive animal lover trope here as well? Come on. Do you know how many people these creatures will kill, have killed in your own universe? How many carnivores you just released? There are 4 adults in that room and you couldn't stop her? So as a result of this, the main bad guy, yeah, remember him? He's just standing outside. He didn't leave this whole fucking time. We last saw him just after Star-Lord beat up those 5 guys ages ago, and since then, he's only made it to his fucking car. A handful of meters. Fuck you, Phil. So obviously he gets eaten by the T-Rex, because the T-Rex is essentially the hero at the end of a film that eats the bad guy. No, I don't know why they keep doing this. It's getting really weird because the T-Rex is also a horrible monster in these films, but whatever. But yeah, he's dead, his men are dead, and the deaths just keep clocking in. Hope you're happy, children of the world, to see these dinosaurs. Hope it was worth all these people's lives. Blue then turns up and says that, you know, I like you, Star-Lord, a lot, but we have a purely platonic thing. No Lando Femputa stuff, and so it just leaves. We'll see it again next film. It's done its job. We then hear a commentary going over how people all over the world are now generating dinosaurs alongside all the ones that escaped, and it has converted our planet into Jurassic World. Cringe. Oh, and that commentator, by the way, that was Jeff fucking Goldblum. Remember him?
There are incredible new dinosaurs, an exploding volcano, and Dr. Ian Malcolm's back.
Taiwan, this is Dr. Malcolm.
Jeff Goldblum, not gonna lie, that's pretty awesome.
There are terrifying new dinosaurs, an exploding island, and Jeff Goldblum's back.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jeff Goldblum. And gee, I'm so thrilled to be back as Dr. Ian Malcolm.
They really knew how to market this, didn't they? He was in it for less than 2 minutes. I hope to Christ you didn't watch it for him, folks. He didn't even remotely affect the story whatsoever. Fuck you. Do you work for Hello Games?
No.
Shut the fuck up, let's summarize. Tech Guy was barely in the movie and he popped up whenever his skills were needed to open doors or save people, including an unexplained yet massively beneficial appearance to release Blue, save Biology Girl, and release the entirety of the dinosaurs, but fuck it. Did I mention his screaming, by the way? Yeah, it was horrible. Biology Girl only turns up to save Blue in like every scene, and that's fucking it. She's just Blue's life preserver on this whole movie. And it wouldn't have been necessary if not for the fact that they had a non-traversy over on the island.
You watch the movie and it's a non-traversy.
Did you coin that word just now?
Yes.
A non-traversy?
A non-traversy.
Thank you, Rich.
Discount Hammond was old and came out of fucking nowhere. I love how you bait old classic characters in the marketing and then invent your own old characters, wedging them into the classic characters as if they were there all along. They weren't. Fuck off. But he does serve to enable the psychopathic, money-hungry villain who's honestly not a character. He's willing to fucking kidnap people, kill them, and send his entire legacy to the grave so that he can have more money. He would have inherited the fucking mansion and the old dude's money the moment he was dead. But nah, he had to enter the black market and sell dinosaurs. Is that all you got, film? He's evil and wants money? Fuck off. And him revealing that the little girl was a clone didn't have any bearing on the scene. It felt like he said it to explain to the audience why we've never met Discount Hammond before. Can you please stay away from the first film? It's great. Get your sticky fingers off it. Don't Terminator Genesis me here. Which takes us to Star-Lord and Heels, who fucking kiss at the end of the film. They've been baiting their relationship by going off again and on again 3 damn times, actually. Go away. At least she got to feel better about essentially causing all this shit in her own way in the first film. Fucking Heels. Buffalo Bill was a prick who collected teeth and managed to essentially keep the film going when it would have normally just shunted to a grinding halt. Without his stupid fucking retarded teeth collection, everything would have ended differently, so fuck you, Bill. I preferred it when you collected skin. Arnim Zola was in the film. Why? Dr. Wu was there to explain how things are made when his points just added more questions to the fucking narrative. And then there's Yellow and Blue. Yellow is a fucking laughingstock, the super intelligent, faking its own weaknesses raptor that ends up deciding to go on a rampage to chase a little girl instead of getting the fuck out of the area, ends up dying to the Iron Man of the Jurassic series. Blue. What a fucking mess Blue is at this point. They treated her as a trained dog that would absolutely bite the hand, to now be a loyal hero that watches over all the main characters. Blue can sense your morality and kills people based on that. It's fucking rubbish. Do you guys remember this scene?
Hold your fire! Do not fire! Put 12 amps in these animals, they're never gonna trust me again.
Yeah, well, fuck that. You can abandon Blue for 3 years, you can trank Blue twice, shoot it with a pistol, bleed it out for hours, only to perform deep surgery that causes massive amounts of pain. All the while, we get to have Star-Lord present in these events, yet Blue will still love you for no fucking reason. Oh, sorry, I forgot that scene that retcons the entire relationship you had with that fucking thing. Blue loves you no matter what. And honestly, you could probably just summon Blue in the next film to save the day or die doing it. I'm almost certain that's going to happen. Speaking of Blue, the whole reason that all the heroes got to the island and got involved in all of this is Blue. Heels says that in the film. All 4 of them are there to capture and stabilize her. But InGen never got to use her in the film. She escapes and murders people because of the people you told to bring her in. Imagine the amount of stupid bullshit that would have been avoided had they never brought in these good guys. Why do they have the power to know about Blue, to access the grids and the security, but they can't fucking turn on a tracking system without Heels? Fuck off, movie. That was the only reason they were brought in. It's so contrived. This film's script is beyond fucked. It's all about luck, good and bad, or just utter nonsense. It's lucky that Yellow fell on the horns. It's unlucky that the teeth collector had this odd fetish and thus released Yellow, actually. But it is lucky that no one cares that they arrived just in time on that ship and a little cap will protect them from it. Oh, and it's lucky that Star-Lord's trank only lasted 10 minutes or he would have been dead. But it's unlucky that all those bad guys are just too inept to run away in this film so they can be swept up by dinosaurs, like the final guy getting eaten by a T-Rex to his left that we can't see because of the angle, but apparently he can't see it either, even though it's enormous. Just unlucky, I guess. Lucky Star-Lord just happens to bump into them while fleeing the volcano. Lucky they only locked up the tech guy in Heels instead of shooting them. Lucky no one notices that the T-Rex went nuts on the ship. Unlucky that some guy spotted you when you were in the car. Lucky they ended up with a dinosaur right next to them that could release them from their cage. Lucky the truck was just waiting for them and ends up saving their lives. This is on top of the fact that the drama is generated for no fucking reason. Stupid biology girl just pulls the gun on Bill. The doors are left open happen because the iPad got smashed, leading to the suburban Mosasaurus. Fuck off. You have absolutely no respect for the franchise that you're attempting to grow. You took superficial elements like shoving as many dinosaurs down our throats as possible while arbitrarily bringing back references or characters to make us giddy to think we might experience an appreciation for this film as we did for the classic, while at the same time you openly forget established rules to your universe in order to tell your retarded story. Site B exists, you fucks. It practically undoes the entire plot of this film. You acknowledge Malcolm, but not the island he spent most of his screen time on because you just want to get people in the cinema. It's not that you want to tell a good fucking story. World building once again takes a back seat to tell a tale that doesn't work even when there is no universe behind it. Familiar, anyone?
Go away!
And that's not to mention the goddamn villain for the film. You kill Discount Hammond because you like money. Motivations and the character, everything's just shit. If the small dinosaur could release itself, why couldn't the huge ones do it? Especially the one with the boulder tail. Come on. The girl released them all because she associates with her fellow clones. Seriously? Who wrote that? Why do the dinosaurs wait for the gates to be open instead of ripping each other apart? There's like tons of herbivores mixed in with carnivores. It's so stupid. How can you sell this as dinosaurs are free on Earth, Planet of the Apes style, when they can all be captured and killed easily with bullets? So silly. Stop trying to sell that dinosaurs can work in the military. That premise is utterly fucking retarded from the get-go. It would be extremely specialized if ever it worked. And it is far from legal. You gotta sell them on the black market, so who is this idea for? Fucking Russians or something? They're gonna invade the US atop a fucking T-Rex? Actually, that would be a better film. Make that film. The point is that you're embarrassing yourself, movie. Again. And you know why I think this was made? I think this film was created solely to have shit tons of dinosaurs to please the audience, and that's it. There's no story to tell, there's no world to set and build on, there's no message to deliver, it's just fucking dinosaur time.
And we're gonna see all the dinosaurs again that we all loved so much in the first movie. We're gonna have Blue.
We have a Carnotaurus.
The Carnotaurus fights the Sinoceratops.
In this Jurassic world, you will see more dinosaurs than you've ever seen before.
We have the Mosasaurus. We have the T-Rex.
We have a Baryonyx in this movie.
In this Jurassic world, you will see more dinosaurs than you've ever seen in all the other Jurassic movies combined. We have a brand new genetically modified dinosaur called the Indoraptor.
There were scenes where we had so many dinosaurs in the same frame that we had to make the frame bigger.
We have a Stygimoloch.
We just all love the Stygimoloch.
Seriously, fuck the Stygimoloch, and fuck the absolutely vapid characters relying on the charm of one guy. A story that cannot function without contrivance and complete luck. The confusing fucking messages it does actually manage to send, such as, how about we just fucking kill people randomly? Star-Lord got a bunch of black market people killed. Were they even evil? Well, they had to be. They were buying dinosaurs. That just makes them assholes. Were the civilians that they released the dinos onto evil? Well, I fucking hope so. This reminds me of the wonderful scene in the previous film where they fillet themselves over the death of this random innocent babysitter and give her the most horrific scene in all of the saga of the Jurassic films. So fucking stupid. You can tell that this movie was created to set up the next one as well. Just piles and piles of sequel bait only to tell a nonsensical story in the interim. Dinosaurs already escaped, you pillocks. How about you account for those ones with a court case? It's a real shame that we ended up with Johnson level writing because you can do so much more than this. Remember how we started? You fucked it up for a fourth time, boys. You screwed it up again. Congratulations. Can't wait to see you shit out the next one for this universe. Excuse me while I go back to watching The Lost World with how bad that film is. It's still better than this mess.
Hey, you!
God, that's so stupid. I need to do an unbridled praise soon. My blood pressure doesn't need this kind of stress. Maybe I can be nice for for a second. The movie had excellent camera work. The director and or the cinematographer genuinely achieved something here. Little girl's acting was like phenomenal. She cried.
That was an amazing.
Star Wars The Force Awakens is being called the film of a generation.
Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens!
I'm gonna buckle up so I don't get too crazy.
That's very good.
Just stop hitting me in the face!
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We have good Star Wars films again.
Nothing but Star Wars! Yes!
That was an amazing movie. What can I say? It was everything I wanted it to be and more.
It was everything I hoped it would be.
It's everything that I've ever wanted a Star Wars movie to be.
Star Wars is back. It's back to its true form.
Seen the movie, and it kicks ass.
It's not just a great Star Wars movie, it's actually a great film.
I mean, it's the best movie of the 7 by far.
Oh,
It's like
really?
a different
Wow.
league.
Very entertaining, very engaging, very dramatically solid.
This movie is incredible, phenomenal, fantastic, excellent.
Star Wars The Force Awakens is a pretty damn good movie.
I thought it was very exciting.
I thought this movie was an enjoyable and refreshing addition to the franchise.
The high points are so high that the low points are kind of meaningless to me.
Guys, in all honesty, I love The Force Awakens.
I can't express to you my absolute love for Star Wars.
I loved it.
Thank you, J.J. Abrams, for saving Star Wars.
Want to say anything to the die-hard Star Wars fans
Please
out there?
go to this film if you've heard that it's good.
The gravy must be that, like, Disney and George Lucas and the fans are so easy to please. Like, all of them. No one has any critiques of your work.
Star Wars The Force Awakens. It was an entertaining movie. Critics liked it. Star Wars fans approved of it.
But is it good?
Is the movie bad? No. Is the movie great? No.
It's not a great movie, and it's certainly not a bad movie. It's a good movie that happens to be titled Star Wars.
However, it's not without its flaws.
Overall, I'd say Disney wanted to have its cake and eat it too.
To the haters of Force Awakens, guys, listen, you're letting your nostalgia make you that way. This movie, Force Awakens, it wasn't a bad movie.
Hey Dan, what do you think?
I think it was a movie.
It's been the funniest thing to see the arguments that have developed over this thing.
I guess it's reached that point where it's cool to hate The Force Awakens now.
If you go on YouTube, you will see countless videos complaining about The Force Awakens. Everybody likes to complain about this movie.
We can love media and be critical of it at the same time. And I think this film is a grand test of this very mantra.
It's at this point you had a nagging feeling in the back of your mind that this whole movie was simply repurposing everything from A New Hope, and you haven't even gotten to the new Death Star yet.
Did it really have to be so similar to the other movies?
It was this big corporate thing, and it had been in the news everywhere. It was a $4 billion purchase, that it would be this kind of corporate approach to making a film.
Star Wars, The Force of Money.
What's the overall grade of The Force Awakens? Disappointing.
Expectations were at 0 today, honestly. I was like, I don't even care about this. And then I watched it and I just didn't care.
So far to say that it is in fact the worse than the prequels.
This farce will never be Star Wars. Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
I just want people to reevaluate the reasons behind their criticism of this movie, because it truly isn't as bad as they say it is.
But maybe just keep this in mind as people start to pick this thing apart, because I've got notes upon notes of where I can pick it apart. Just realize they do it with love.
I've discovered that most critics themselves are cinematically illiterate. They don't really know much about movies. They don't know the history, they don't know the technology, they don't know anything. So for them to try to analyze it, they're lost.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mauler, and welcome to a critique of Star Wars The Force Awakens. I will be covering far more than just the film itself, but as the title implies, the majority focus will be an assessment of the film. If you would like to skip over the introduction, please use the time code and it will take you to the beginning of the analysis. The introduction is essentially more so about me, my process, what you can expect in the series, and an update for my subscribers. Though I will say it is worth having seen the Star Wars saga up to the latest films in the series before watching my videos, as it will benefit you in following along. But seriously, we have a long introduction this time, and there'll be a bunch of topics covered that you might have absolutely no interest in. So if you're new and you're here for Star Wars alone, please skip on ahead, though I will be able to tell you what you can expect. Ever since I completed my 4 videos on The Last Jedi at the start of this year, my channel has grown from 2,000 to 100,000 subscribers. I really can't say how much I appreciate you folks and your support. This whole thing has been quite life-changing, and I've been provided some potent encouragement to push right on, including the support to build the new PC that was used to create this very series. So thank you for helping me pursue my dream, and I hope that you enjoy what I've put together. So to begin, I think it makes sense to talk a bit about objectivity, considering that will be the baseline for this assessment. So permit me, if you will, to go on a rant about the state of video essays and reviews on YouTube these days. Star Wars The Last Jedi was panned quite thoroughly across much of YouTube, but since it is a part of such a popular franchise, it had plenty of fans remaining, as does anything with that kind of reach. At this juncture, however, thanks to months of discussion, most points have been brought to the logical baseline, with some who apparently haven't heard a single counter-argument still trailing to join the discussion. At the end of my assessment, I said that the film was overall objectively bad in terms of filmmaking. It is of poor quality. The utterly broken script was bleeding errors with every second of screen time that passed, and stating the conclusion at the end of the analysis is only natural. It can also assist in creating a scale for objective quality. Now, in relation to those who find my channel frustrating, there is an ongoing conversation about objectivity versus subjectivity. I have been made an example of by a handful of people as the channel who thinks his opinions are facts.
Or to put it like he likes to, his opinions are objective. And the opinions of people who disagree with him, well, those are just subjective.
Isn't it so strange that people can't seem to get a quote from my videos that would even remotely resemble that statement? The idea that I tell people they are watching movies wrong, for example, when my discussions are always concerned with the facts you use and how well researched those are, versus the feelings you experience. Anyone is welcome to generate an objective opinion based solely on the measurable elements of the content, or they can generate a personal subjective opinion based on how they felt. But they are completely different conversations. You can't be wrong for how you experience something.
And I'm not coming here to tell you that you're wrong, unless you are actually wrong about indisputable facts.
You see, you can do whatever you want, however you want, feel what you want. Just don't tell me that an apple is a banana and expect me to say you are right by an objective standard. As you just heard, Patrick made a great point. But these same people purport that I make statements about denying someone's feelings or watching movies wrong when they can't show it. Though if we reverse that accusation, I actually can use quotes instead of inventing them. So considering the amount of criticism objective analysis receives from these folks, and how abysmal the current state of hollow analysis is on YouTube, why don't we explore their style and see if it holds up against any kind of scrutiny?
I know it seems impossible to watch movies wrong, but you're watching movies wrong.
Oh dear, that seems contradictive, doesn't it?
And I'm not coming here to tell you that you're wrong.
6 months later. You're watching movies wrong. You're kinda watching movies wrong.
This is what I end up hearing from the same people who believe they have more authority to speak on the subject of film analysis than others.
And all those plot holes people complain about, they don't actually matter. The actual problems are that many of the central characters are totally static and poorly motivated, and the one major moment of growth is caused by a ridiculous plot contrivance.
So plot holes in favor of payoffs don't matter, but plot contrivances in favor of payoffs do? Patrick, you realize that a plot hole is a plot contrivance, but worse, right? At least with a contrivance, it could happen. A plot hole, by definition, is a strict contradiction. It should not happen. You seem to be contradicting yourself quite a lot.
While I make some videos that are technically film criticism, I don't count as a film critic.
These people write scripts with more inconsistencies than the films I am trying to criticize, and these videos that they make are only 10 minutes long.
Critics are not bought or bribed. Disney does not pay off critics to trash DC movies. It's not like bad reviews hurt Suicide Squad's box office, so why would studios waste money on that?
A few moments later.
Before seeing a movie, I'll skim reactions from critics I trust on Twitter, or glance briefly at the reviews, and if enough of them seem to dig it, I'll see the movie. Why would studios waste money on that?
How do you write that in the same video? Many people accuse me of inaccurate film criticism too, that I am not aware of extra knowledge that would have changed my assessment had I known it. This is actually a truth. There are a couple of things that I am completely unaware of, and that is a human error, as you would call it, but I am happy to admit that I can make that mistake. Patrick talks about how many critics are getting facts straight wrong by not paying attention to the movie, as if he is separate from that collective, only to then, in the same video, say this.
In Alien, if the acid can melt through the floor, why doesn't it melt through the entire ship?
Patrick, acid doesn't just burn forever. It will neutralize after it eats through enough material. In fact, that is the immediate concern for the crew of the Nostromo in the film Alien.
That thing's gonna eat through the goddamn hull, come on!
After realizing that it could potentially eat through the hull, they then find the spot where it's reaching its end and comment on it.
It stopped. Don't say anything like that except, molecular acid.
Do you understand how many contradictions we've reached in just a few minutes? His video on plot holes was so poorly constructed that despite the positive ratings on the video itself, an overwhelming proportion of top comments are in disagreement with him. This reaction is actually very similar to the one H-Bomber received on his video in relation to Bloodborne. The fan base will always appreciate a good new video, but once you have time to discuss it, videos with awful argumentation start to fall apart. I would say that one of the most accurate examples of this clear disconnect would be Joseph Anderson's attempt at explaining why horror games don't scare him and his follow-up video. His first video was very confusing in structure, conflating his feelings with facts while presenting that an entire genre is fundamentally broken. This served to reveal a sense of ignorance in the exploration of said genre, and I have honestly never seen such a major portion of the comments section in complete disagreement. Similarly to Patrick and H-Bomber Guy, these were despite the positive ratings. This is the kind of thing that will of course happen to me down the line if I fall out of touch. But how you respond to criticism can often say more than the initial statement ever could. Speaking of which, Joseph responded to the criticism with an extremely condescending video explaining that it is in fact on the viewer to figure out which statements he makes are subjective and which are objective. This absolves him of any responsibility in his own writing, placing the blame directly on the viewers. As a result, the comments section ravaged him once again. These are the kind of videos you end up with when you have a severe lack of self-awareness.
At least 50% of the plot holes that I see people complain about are things that are actually explained in the movie if you just pay attention. In Alien, if the acid can melt through the floor, why doesn't it melt through the entire ship?
It stopped. Don't say anything like that except, molecular acid.
But I guess if you're too busy live tweeting about plot holes, you can miss some stuff.
Patrick and many others like him are so woefully beyond inconsistent that their only recourse is to invent quotes from their opposition in order to make them look more ridiculous by comparison. It's a hypocritical straw man, and it's not very effective. While this backward logic is splattered across different conversational threads, my channel has been generating more and more interest from people who enjoy the central premise. People who rather clearly understand what I'm actually doing here. So no worries, folks. I am fully aware of them trying to play the semantics game to discredit my work and the work of many other creators. Honestly, you should expect more of that as my channel grows, since making enemies is just par for the course on the internet, especially when you tell someone that something they enjoy is poorly crafted. Or vice versa. Separating how they feel from the art itself is something they disagree with at the core, so of course they get upset when you point out a flaw they can't reconcile emotionally. But this is not a foreign concept for them. They are fully aware of the difference between objectivity and subjectivity, and they know when content is poorly made. It simply doesn't apply when it's their sacred cow. Thus, they end up taking criticism as a personal insult, but good lord, that is not the case. Besides, it's much easier to simply smear people who disagree with you rather than open a discussion. Isn't that right, Quentin?
To state that your opinions, which mostly come down to things like thoughts about the lore and nitpicks about dialogue, are objective facts that can never be disputed by anyone, is ridiculous.
Well, you can sit down for now. I have some important stuff to get out of the way. I'll see you at the end. Many people across all debate, discussion, and discourse from the dawn of time have put in a strong effort to blur the line between subjectivity and objectivity. If not by malice or ignorance, it is a backward way to win an argument. To redefine a landscape until your feelings are considered fact, with no regard for what the very definitions of those words even are. And with more and more controversial discussions taking place, you will eventually eventually find the word opinion is thrown around far more than references to the topic being discussed. The purpose behind it in this case is to champion the idea that there is no such thing as good or bad content, that everyone is simply sharing their perspective. You know, the mentality that everyone gets a medal no matter what. Participation is now enough to celebrate quality. Everybody who was in the race now gets a first place medal. It's as if they no longer want to recognize how well the goal was completed or how shockingly it was failed. Of course, this doesn't apply when talking about The Room or Birdemic. Or how about CinemaSins? It is very difficult to find anyone who declares CinemaSins is a channel of quality. However, CinemaSins is a form of art. He has transformed the original content for a different purpose. Surely whether his work is bad is purely subjective. Of course, I don't see it that way, but what I'm trying to show is that they do use objectivity as a scale when it suits them. But that fights their principle of everything coming down to an opinion, so you will only find it happening with the things they so desperately want beaten into the ground. Ultimately, if you subscribe to these channels, their standards get very confusing, so I say let's throw them out the window in favor of something far more consistent. I think I should be clear in saying that anyone, including myself, likely in this very series of videos, will eventually, in their lives, create bad pieces of content, and it can be assessed for a conclusion. There are plenty of ways to determine it. Let's start with getting facts wrong. That would be a big one. We open up in the 1970s with two characters that have a plan to share weaponry to communities surrounding the area with Wakandan technology because of the struggle that persists. No, it was set in 1992. What's wrong with you? As far as I'm concerned, plenty of these show an opportunity for a backstab to activate, and it comes across as the game falling asleep. Don't you know that the jester robes are immune to backstabs, you hack? We then see the Hulk has been transported directly to Camotage. No, it was Sanctum Sanctorum. How can you call yourself a critic? Yes, these are a few moments of several in which I get things wrong. Do you know why? Because there is objective information that I failed to research correctly. I made mistakes in the art I created. My work is therefore flawed, affecting the overall objective quality. This is possible when you understand that objectivity exists in art. But when it comes to these people, facts are frustrating because it can force a strongly held position to face scrutiny when they would prefer to simply enjoy their perspective while letting others know they are incorrect for having theirs. This approach to analysis is novel and oftentimes very entertaining, but it will leave you completely inconsistent and outright embarrassing to listen to, especially when you begin to completely contradict your own thesis without even realizing it.
There will always be people for whom an experience just isn't for them, or who are too dumb to understand how to play something, or don't realize that something they think is good is objectively bad. Some people really like Fallout 3, and they seem to be the specific type of people who think clicking a dislike button is a decent way of expressing their feelings. In other words, objectively stupid people like Fallout 3. And there is a right way to play the Souls games. You can hide behind the shield a lot, die over and over trying to memorize every encounter, or use magic from a distance to avoid having to engage with the game, or wear the heaviest armor and hope that'll save you. But the reality is, it's just more fun playing it as someone who dodges, who weaves, who parries, and who uses situational awareness to assess a situation.
You guys remember H-Bomber Guy? He acknowledged my existence again on Twitter. It was wonderful. Last time he spoke to me it was about my DS2 series, and in relation to someone saying they couldn't be bothered to watch any more than 10 minutes, he had this to say at the end of the conversation. Have you ever eaten something bad and stopped? Or realized there were 8 more courses and stopped? Because I think people who do that might still have some relevant criticism. And in response, I said, that is an interesting analogy, and had someone watched part 1 and offered criticism for it, I am sure it would be helpful. But to eat a potato and complain that the entire meal tastes bad is simply not useful at all. He chose not to respond to me again after that exchange.
Clearly behaving like someone who definitely isn't mad that they got owned online and just wants to have a reasonable conversation about the facts.
But recently the topic of objectivity versus subjectivity came up, and I received this from Harris. You're 100% entitled to your opinion, and you noticed a bunch of genuine mistakes I made in the video, but pretending that your opinion is the only one based in facts, and people who find that approach tiresome or just scared of the truth, is a bit of an overstep.
I love being acknowledged by my peers online. It makes me feel powerful, virile even.
So I responded by asking why he's trying to make me look crazy by implying that I think my opinions are facts due to achieving objectivity. Though I shouldn't be surprised, he's not the first intellectual to misrepresent my work. I don't think you're a bad person. I simply don't agree with your approach to video game criticism. It's a little immature to write as if you've achieved objectivity and I'm out to make you look crazy for it. And I'd recommend, like, chilling out. Lol.
I guess it's easy to win a fight with an opponent made of straw.
You are damn right, Harris. So he will continue to ignore me or take pot shots when available instead of having a discussion, which is fine, I suppose, but I must say there is something very interesting about the first interaction I had with him. He pointed out a criticism of mine that was not valid as it was clearly taking a joke seriously. I responded that even if it were a joke, I provided context so that viewers would understand that and choose to ignore me or see the argumentation for how weak it was regardless. I kept getting notifications of that conversation as time went on, likely because it was featured at the end of my Last Jedi series. As a result, many had a problem with how sheepishly he responded to my criticism, to try and come across as if he gave it a chance, only to pick up on one quote and then refuse to reply when criticized for it. As a result, he has apparently decided to delete the tweet entirely to remove that mistake from memory.
It's the closest I think I've seen someone come to admitting that they've lost. It appears that I owned him so hard with such bulletproof reasoning that he didn't even mention me or my video directly, despite the fact that we have mutual friends, so I know he's seen the video and I know it really pissed him off.
He later admitted that yes, there are mistakes in Dark Souls 2 and his video on it, but they are not flaws in overall game design objectively. They are mistakes, but they are not flaws. Right. I'm still happy to chat with you, Harris, whether or not your perspective makes a lick of sense. We could get along famously, I'm sure. Just stop with the snipes, unless you're gonna give me a chance to actually have a conversation with you. It's a little bit unsporting, that's all.
I promise to not do that eventually, when I grow up one day.
So yes, objectivity and subjectivity. At this point, the concept has practically drawn a line between two types of critical analysis. The issue is that many content creators will blend the two ideas and then hide under the banner of subjectivity to avoid criticism. Rather than being happy to compare how they felt to the reality of the content, there is this stubborn assumption that the first thing you felt is now the only piece of information that's relevant to the deconstruction of the media. How you feel may remain with you, but that doesn't mean you should stop listening to other people, exploring the content with any depth, or allowing yourself to experience even more. Instead, there's this idea that you should hold on to that one narrow perspective, which is detrimental to communication, especially if it's based on false information. The sun being a star is just an opinion. Water being a liquid is just an opinion. And of course, The Last Jedi having a script chock full of defined inconsistencies is just an opinion. It's a fantastic tool for the modern analyst. It's like a free pass. You don't have to do any work on your script at that point because it can't be wrong. It's all just an opinion. You know what, guys? Maybe I didn't get the date wrong in Black Panther. Maybe that was my opinion of the date. It was my experience of the date. You can't say it's wrong. Do you see how useful it is to construct essays that way?
I just shouldn't be allowed to talk about Dark Souls anymore. Someone should just come and stop me before I make him another idiot of myself.
You can't say I didn't try, Harris. So I had an extensive stream with my community while playing Sly Cooper some time ago. This particular issue was discussed heavily, and there were several comments about what seems to be this open frustration about using the word objective whatsoever on YouTube. There is no fear of facts, because analysts who claim subjectivity will still employ that objective standard at their own leisure, especially when it's not their sacred cow being humiliated. But to label something you found to be factual as objective is not something these guys want.